Okay, we're back. And last time we were talking about um we didn't super duper get into your background. We
Hmm.
we got into a lot of I mean worlds prep and everything that was going to happen at worlds as you would expect. But yeah, what what is the background of Wascar now? The 59-kilo world champion.
All right. So I am originally from Dominican Republic. Um, Grew up there. Um, I lived in a small town called La Vega, and lived with my mom and dad. My parents were married, and was there till I was 9 years old. And I have an older brother and a younger sister now. And uh, I was there. My mom, uh, great, amazing woman. I look up to her. So thankful to have her in my life. Um, I owe everything that I have today to my mom. And I don't say that lightly. Truly mean that. And when growing up, my father, alcoholic. We're just gonna go right in. Gonna right in. And
Okay.
yeah, my father was my biological dad, alcoholic. Till this day, actually, he still struggles with alcohol. And when I was 7, at that age, I wasn't grasping everything that was going on with mom and dad. I just seen what I was able to see and process, which I knew that what my dad was doing wasn't normal. He would come home late, always arguing with my mom, and always drunk. And my mom had enough. That they had an incident that's where my mom drew the line, and she kind of it was very um it was a shocking moment, I guess, for myself, and I'm assuming my brother, because it was a day me and my brother woke up and all of a sudden my mom was leaving. And that day we really didn't understand why. And it was she wanted to pursue better for us. So she left. She went to Puerto Rico at the time. So she had her like visa in the past and all that good stuff, and she had it. So she went to Puerto Rico and on for this purpose of getting documentations for herself and my brother and I to eventually come to the US. And she left. She later on explained that to us, so we understood what was going on. But for a brief period there, we were like, "What's going on? Where's mom?" And
You're
you
with your
know,
alcoholic father. That's
correct,
some
correct.
scary stuff for a kid, man.
Yeah. So it was my mom. We've talked about it since, and in further detail, and it was the scariest time of her life because she left us. She had this plan because he knew the way things were going back home. It wasn't going to be something that's sustainable for her. So she kind of built this plan where she talked to friends and like neighbors and explained to them what was going on. And when she left, we kind of had people to lean on, or we would go to the neighbor's house to call her and talk to her, so on and so forth. And for 2 years, we were me and my brother kind of taking care of each other because my mom was providing for us because my dad, even though he was working, he would take all that money and he would just drink it all. So if it wasn't for my mom sending money to our neighbor to take care of putting food in our mouth, I don't know
Oh
where I
my
would be today.
gosh, man. In 2 years, you didn't see your mom?
Nah, for 2 years, probably I think
Dude,
little over 2 years, yeah. So it was from 7 to 9.
those are formative years too. That's not like 25 to 27.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it was a scary time in my life because it forced me to grow up really fast. Because it was me and my brother. So I was 7, brother was 9, and then at the end of it, I was 9, my brother was 11, and it was me and him. We definitely got like this. Me and my brother we we have never fought till this day as brothers. That's one
It,
fun fact.
Right, because all you had was each other. In terms of stability,
Correct.
mom left, dad's a little shaky. You like Frank, dude. I can't believe how scary this would be for kids to not understand what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah. And it was a lot of late nights. So like, back home there isn't iPhones, there isn't iPads, none of this. So it was, we stay outside and play, but the doors were locked and they wouldn't be unlocked until my dad came at midnight, 1 in the morning to unlock the door. So there'd be
Oh my
times where it's
gosh.
just me and my brother in the front porch, or not even a porch really, because our house, it was kind of like you have house right here, sidewalk, and then the street. So there was no porch. It was just a wall and a door. So it was me and my brother there at the foot of the door, sitting down, dark, it's dark out. The city itself, I mean, and Dominican Republic, by all means, where we lived, it's not a safe city. There's safer parts of Dominican Republic, but where we lived, there was everybody's just trying to survive. Um, so we
So you
were
were in the
out
street.
there.
You were literally in the street at like 7, 8, 9.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
wonder your brother's safe, man. You were like his protection. You're like, man, I'm 9.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. My brother, I mean, in some cases, my brother was a father figure in some days, because he had to be. He had to step up and take care of little brother. Especially when we were out there, and probably I was scared and all of it. And it was but it was normal to us, unfortunately. Because we knew if it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday night when he wasn't working, it was going to be late nights, and if we stayed out and he left before we were able to get back in the house, we were going to be outside until who knows
Jesus.
if he was coming home or when he came home.
Mm.
So it was times like that for 2 years, um, and eventually, thank goodness, my mom, she was able to get our documents and all of that, and one day we get a phone call and say, hey, you're going to your aunt's house. And we're like, why? This is random. And come to find out, it was mom. She was coming back, and we didn't have to live like that no more. And
Dude, so okay, so hang on. I mean, this is crazy. This is a wild story, man. So a few
yeah.
questions.
hmm
So your mom came back to Dominican to collect you from your aunts?
Basically from my dad, but the way we had to do it is he couldn't find out that my mom was coming back to take us,
That's what I
because
was thinking. Okay.
yeah, because well, we don't know till this day how he would have reacted had he known, like from the get-go, like your kids are leaving. He in his head he might have been like, I'm probably never gonna see them again. Whatever, all we knew that he was an alcoholic, that his life revolved about working, drinking, and that was that. And then there was abuse as well, unfortunately. Um, and so we didn't know what the emotional reaction would be of him finding out that, hey, your kids are leaving. So my mom, what she did, she was like, hey, can you take the kids up to their aunts? They're gonna spend the weekend up there. I don't know what story she told him to convince him to take us up there, but he did. And then that's when, my mom came, and she was back.
Without him knowing.
Yeah, without us knowing too, because we didn't know. Because I'm sure my
So
mom was like, "Oh, can't tell him, because what happens if they tell him? The kids
for sure, you're
tell
a
dad
kid. You
that."
won't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
You're gonna, and things when you saw your mom for the first time in 2 years.
yeah,
What were you thinking as a child? Like when you all those nights you spent outside it, and like all those nights she's like probably knows like you're like my
yeah,
7 year old
yeah,
is on the streets, and like her seeing you, she probably lost her mind, and
yeah,
then you
dude,
seeing you, and she's losing her mind.
dude. I remember like it just happened yesterday. We woke up. My aunt tells me, "Hey, get ready. We're gonna go to the airport." And I'm like, Why are we going? We've never been to the airport before. Why are we going there?" She says, "Don't worry. Just put some clothes on. We're gonna go to the airport." And I remember sitting on this little bench, and I'm with my brother, and uh, from the distance, I see this lady with this taller guy that now is my stepdad, and I recognize, because like when she was back home, she was a little bit thinner. She came here, she gained a little bit of weight, some good healthy weight for her. And I see her, and I was almost at a disbelief because like I knew that was her, but I wasn't sure because I haven't seen her in 2 years, and I haven't heard otherwise. I didn't know that mom was coming back. So I see in the distance, and also she was with another guy too, right? Which we had talked to him over the phone, but I didn't know what he looked like.
Mm.
So I see her in the distance with this guy, and I was in disbelief, and I was like, "There's no way that's mom." Because mom's been gone, and sure as heck it was mom. She was walking straight to us. She starts bawling. My brother and I started bawling, and it was an explosion of emotions like
Dude,
this. And I was like, and still right, I was unsure of what the future was gonna look like. I guess mom coming back and then she leaving again. Like I wasn't sure, but
yeah,
in
yeah.
that moment I was like, man, I mom is back. Mom is back. And holy
Dude,
dude.
that's dude, that is okay, first off, when you saw her coming, did you before you even seen her face, say, like, I think that's my mom, but I don't know if that's my mom?
Yeah. Like
Isn't
it was
that
one of
the
those
isn't that wild?
and it was more of because like everything that we had gone through the past 2 years, like I wanted it to be my mom so bad, but my mind couldn't process the fact that was a possibility if mom was there. So it was so many different like emotions and visuals going through my mind in that moment that I was like, yeah, but that's mom. Like I see her, but like she's with this guy that I don't recognize. And but yeah,
Mm.
it was a wild moment. And um we go back to my aunt's house, and a few days later we were going back to the airport, and she tells me, yeah, we're going to the United States. And I was like, what do you mean, mom? And because we didn't, I mean, it's a very sad way of doing it, but we didn't say goodbye to any of our friends that we had back home because we didn't
He's your
feel a need to say
dad, man.
goodbye. Yeah.
Even though he's your dad and he wasn't like everything that you would have probably, need he wasn't what you needed, but
Hmm.
he was still your dad. Now you're computing,
Hmm.
does this mean I don't see my dad? I didn't say
Yeah.
bye to my dad.
Yeah.
There's like a there's like a even though you're the kid, you're like, did I just abandon my dad? What is happening? How do I feel about this? I'm
Yeah.
glad I see my mom, but now I don't have my dad. Very scary. And then to
Very.
your point where you were like, Mom, you left last time. I didn't understand what happened.
Hmm.
There's gonna be some like it's tough to shake, man. You just don't shake
Yeah.
that easy.
Dude, for sure. And my brother, he was there the entire time, of course, and I'm so grateful for my brother. Um, and yeah, we came here. I was 9, and we've been back one time in 2012. It was the last time I seen my dad in person. But me and him, we don't have the best relationship, so it's one of those things. Like to this day, I haven't talked to him in over 3 years. Um, just for personal reasons. And I want to go back for taking my wife and son, not to go see my father, unfortunately right now, but I just want to go back to visit and visit the area, show them where I grew up and all of that because it's like it's a real trip. Because I'm it's a where I came from. I sometimes you know tell myself, and sometimes I even question about the fact that I'm doing what I'm doing. I have the family that I have. I have my own son that now looks at me and says dad and is looking at me for guidance now, and sometimes it's a weird thing that being where I came from is I always take advantage or make the most out of opportunities because in some ways the way I look at it is like I wasn't supposed to be here. And if it wasn't for my
Mm.
mom, I wouldn't be here. So that's why it's like it's one of those things that I truly try to cherish moments, cherish opportunities because it's like one of those things like how I grew up. I could have been a complete different story, man.
Oh, dude, man,
Yeah.
you you got like a good job, good head on your shoulders, married with a kid, and you're a freaking dedicated disciplined elite level athlete representing your nation at the biggest stage. Yeah, dude. I mean, your life could have been totally different. But it is that is a such a remarkable story.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
that you went through all of that and to be where you are now. And yeah,
Hmm.
like if you go back, I don't know if you go back and you want to talk about public speaking, if you go back and you talk to any schools in Dominican for some kids and you tell your story about like something like I was literally living on the streets some days. Some nights I just
Yeah.
spent on the streets.
Hmm.
And it was just me and my brother. And like
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell. I don't know what was gonna come of me. What from one day to the next. And to be like, and now I'm a world champion.
Hmm.
Like, and you come home like that, whole nother deal, man. Some of those kids who need to hear something, will be like, holy smokes. Even if you
Yeah.
don't do public speaking or whatever, you talking about it now. Even if you don't do public speaking, you putting it out there now like you are. This story
Hmm.
is going to start spreading.
Dude, yeah,
People are going to start.
and it's it's a blessing to now be in this position because I get messages almost daily of people that are in other countries and all of this and they tell me, a bit of their story and I just like it's that like you said, it's like my story. It's now out there and part of, now I'm telling another side of it and it's ah man, it's like it's one of those things where again, it's like even sitting down here having another conversation, which is like I wasn't supposed to be here once upon a time, and but I
And,
am, and
the
now and
chances
that's
you
why I
get
feel like
here,
that's why I feel like I almost owe it to make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm putting my best foot forward. I'm putting it out there just because I was once in a place where I had no idea if I was gonna make it to tomorrow, some days. And I never know who my story might touch. And or this is your platform is huge and you never know who might listen to this when it drops. And yeah, man, it's
I'm
crazy.
telling you, like it happens all the time. When people come on the platform and talk like Kaiko and like Jesus, like all of them have come on, Taylor,
Hmm.
people listen and are like, holy smokes. And it
Hmm.
some people for sure need to hear these kind of conversations.
Yeah.
And some people like it's weird. Taylor was on here and he talked about like, he grew up. He's like, man, I lived in a trailer. My dad was an addict. I was dealing with all types of stuff. And
Hmm.
he's like, and I felt shame to tell my story. So when I
Right.
got big on powerlifting, he's like, I just pretended that I just never told my story because he felt
Hmm.
shame, even though it's like Taylor, you were a kid, like you didn't, like this wasn't you didn't do anything to deserve that, but he's
Right.
like but you just don't know. He's like it's weird. Shame is a weird thing. You walk around with it, and he's like, and then he actually said like other people coming on talking about stuff openly, and he's
Right.
like he would come on and do the Taylor Atwood I'm the best, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then when
Right.
he heard other people come on, Kaiko stopped 3, 4 times and was breaking down to tell his story. And like some people like stepped up and had like some crazy stories to tell. And
Hmm.
Taylor saw some of those and heard some of those and some of the Road to Sheffields and stuff, other content, not just the King List podcast. And Taylor said, I need to tell my story while I can tell my story. And
Correct.
I need to put aside whatever shame, whatever I'm dealing with this. And
Hmm.
Taylor telling his story, lip quivered. It came a little, and it was like, dude, you're doing amazing.
Yeah.
It's not easy, man, to just
It's
put it out
not.
there like that.
Dude, 100%. And when I did my very first podcast ever, like in general, it was because of powerlifting. It was with Powerlifting America, and I did. It was the same thing. Like I came out there, I came on, and I was talking with Paul, and it was all good stuff. Like I'm prepping for this. This is what I've done. All that good stuff. Everything revolves around lifting. And then a similar thing when I came on here first, and it was regarding powerlifting, worlds, prepping, and all that good stuff. But absolutely after Sheffield and hearing all those other stories, and even my wife, she even told me, it's like she I remember she's like, yeah, that's what you need to do. You need to tell your
Well,
story.
well, the thing is, like,
Yeah.
it's not only it gives context to the people you see, first off.
Hmm.
So you're like, you are you have a backstory. Everyone's got a backstory.
For
And
sure.
then it really is like, I can't even tell you, like, some of these people, when people came on King of Lifts and told their story, like, even like from like, man, there was like a bunch of them who came on, and it was like they all just started opening up.
Hmm.
So many messages of people, and I would take the message, like, can I share this? Yes. And I would send it to the person who was on and be like, or so many messages were in their request, but like you can't keep up. But so many people are like, those podcasts, man. Some people, like, I can't even get into my background, but
Yeah.
that's what I needed. Or some
Dude.
people were like, I've heard some people have listened to the same podcast multiple times over and over because they're like,
Hmm.
I need this right now. I am where this person was, mentally, whatever. Or I'm dealing with something right now. I
Hmm.
need this right now. And it's like,
Yeah.
or when people meet you and they're just kind of like, they think they got, sometimes people meet you and they get kind of lazy. So they think all they know of you is what they see on social media. And they think they got
Hmm.
you pegged. They think they got you pegged pretty good, huh? And then, so when they meet you, they may treat you certain ways, good or bad, and they kind of built up their own background for you. And it's like, that's nice. You don't know me like that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
you got to treat me special, but at the same time, like when you say certain things, it might cut differently when you attack me like that.
For
Like
sure.
some people say freely things in comments or think, and it's like, Jerwins was on here one time and he was saying, I remember I posted and someone was talking about my mom, and he's like, fair enough. Me and my mom are good, but it's like, but you don't know me and my mom are good.
Right.
You don't know what my relationship is here, there, or whatever. You don't know me like that, but you feel familiar enough to get into me like that just because I powerlift and I have a following. And sometimes people need to know, like, it isn't all good to just to, like, you don't know what you're digging up. Maybe I read that comment and nothing. Maybe I read that comment and I walk away and I'm still dealing with shit. And
Hmm.
maybe I'll always deal with some shit. You don't gotta go there, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
it's all right. Sometimes, like, I don't know. It's
No,
important
I
sometimes to be transparent as well.
absolutely, absolutely, and it's one of those like for me, one of the battles that I constantly had to fight growing up is like I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do none of that stuff. And a huge reason of why I don't even bother to for stuff like that. Well, number one, I don't see the point in it, and then number two is because of my dad. And it was one of those things where growing up, it's so normal for people to go out, drink, party, whatever it is, and they always looked at me as that dude that never did it. It's like, how come? How come? Why not, dude? Like, just try it. Just try one drink. It does
Hmm.
it won't do nothing. Like in my mind, it takes me back as a kid with my when my dad would come from being out drunk and take his anger out from his day on my brother and I, and then abuse us. So it
Hmm.
was is that's and some people don't process that, and they say things so lightly because they don't see it as a big deal. Like, why not? It's just one drink. But to me, that one drink was a smack in the face for my dad. So
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah.
I have you seen the movie City Slickers?
No.
Okay. Let me see if I can find this one clip.
Okay.
It's gonna hit home. Then I'm gonna tell you the Bobby Shez story. Um, but let me see if I can find this one clip. Oh, Nelly. Okay. Fuck, man. This clip gets me. When I tell you the story behind it, what it's
Hmm.
based on, I just gotta wait for this stupid advertisement to stop. Okay.
Bet.
So City Slickers came out. It's got Billy Crystal. This came out in like the 90s. And there are these guys who were on a trip. And let me share my screen for you there, kind sir. You see that, sir?
Yes.
Okay. So these guys on a trip, and they're like middle-aged men who are on a trip where they're essentially going to be cowboys herding some cattle from one spot to another. And they're playing a little game with each other. And they're like, tell me about your best day. And they're poking around and they don't totally know everybody's background story, kind of like we talked about.
Hmm.
So they get to the one guy and he says what his best day is. Now, this movie clip is actually based on a story of a famous boxer who said the exact same story. The writer heard the boxer telling the story, inserted it with modifications into this movie because it's so impactful. And I'm going to tell you what the boxer story is after you watch this clip, okay?
Okay.
Best day of your life.
You mean ever?
Yeah, best day ever in your whole life. And you can't do when your kids were born. That's too easy.
I got one. I'm 7 years old, and my dad takes me to Yankee Stadium. My first game. We're going in this long, dark tunnel underneath the stands. I'm holding his hand, and we come up out of the tunnel into the light. It was huge. How green the grass was, brown dirt, and that great green copper roof, remember? And we had a black and white TV, so this was the first game I ever saw in color. Sat there the whole game next to my dad. Taught me how to keep score. Mickey hit one out.
Good day.
I still have the program.
Kind of ties into the sports
All right,
conversation we were having
what was
earlier.
the
But
worst day you ever had?
Worst day. A couple of years ago, Barbara finds a lump.
What? Jesus.
Yeah, it scared the shit out of me.
You never said anything.
Yeah, well, it turned out to be nothing, but that whole day was...
Yeah, but that was a good day
How?
because it turned out to be nothing.
Yeah, but the whole day until then was horrible.
Yeah, but it came out good. You're a real, the glass is half empty kind of a guy, you know that? I don't know how Barbara can stand it.
Yeah.
All right, I got one. My best day.
This isn't the one about Arlene and that loose step, is it?
No, my wedding day. What? Yeah, remember that day? Outdoor wedding. Arlene looked great. Those water pills really worked. You guys were all smiling at me, and my dad, in the front, gives me a little wink. You know? I mean, he's not the warmest of men, but he winked. You know, I was the first one of us to get married and have a real job, and I remember thinking, I'm grown up. You know, I'm not a goofball anymore. I made it. Felt like a man. It's the best day of my life.
What was your worst day?
Every day since is a tie.
All right, Ed, your best day. What is it? Twins in a trapeze? What?
No, I don't want to play.
Come on, we did it.
I don't feel like it.
Okay.
I'm 14 and my mother and father are fighting again. You know, because she caught him again. Caught him. This time the girl drove by the house to pick him up. And I finally realized he wasn't just cheating on my mother, he was cheating on us. So I told him. I said, you're bad to us. We don't love you. I'll take care of my mother and my sister. We don't need you anymore. And he made like he was gonna hit me, but I didn't budge. Then he turned around and he left. Never bothered us again. But I took care of my mother and my sister from that day on. That's my best day.
What was your worst day?
Same day.
Damn. Holy
and that's
shit, dude.
so Bobby Shez, that's actually based on a true story. A boxer named Bobby Shez talked about in an interview, and the writers for this movie heard him talking about it. He said, exact same scenario where they said, "Tell us your best day, worst day," and he said his dad was an alcoholic, abusive to the whole family, and Bobby Shez is a boxer. So he didn't find powerlifting, he found boxing, but he found boxing, and as he grew older, by the time he was around 15-ish, he was big enough, but still smaller than his father, but he could use his hands. And for the last time, he said he swore to himself, this is the last time. So he would come home drunk and beat up the mom. And if one of the boys, is him and his brother, two boys like you and your brother, tried to do something, they're going to get smacked around. And then he kept building his skills. And then he would never stand up to his dad because there's a fear factor as well. That even it was tough. And then one day he said, not today. So he waited for his dad at the front of the house. And when his dad came home, he was waiting for him. His dad walked up, seeing him waiting, and you kind of tell he's waiting. Like this is going to be something. So his dad
Yeah.
is looking at him, and it feels like it's going to be something's about to go. And his dad's like, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "You're not coming in this house anymore." In exactly same speech, because he knew he had to hit hard. He's like, "We don't love you anymore. We don't need you. Nobody needs you. And you're gonna have to come through me if you want to get in this house." And the dad, those words, "We don't love you, we don't need you," that was enough. The dad left. And the son, Bobby, found out the next day his dad left, committed suicide. And now Bobby Shez from here on out had that on his shoulder. And it was one of those best day, most proudest moment, but also I contributed to that. Like I said what I said. That was my parting words to my dad. And then he went and did what he did. You know how like the Bobby Shez went on win 2 world titles is a tough son of a bitch. But like that is crazy. You know,
Holy shit, dude.
that's as tough as it comes, man. That's as tough as a story as it comes. Um, yeah, it's one of those my best day, but my worst day. My finest
Yeah.
moment where I was brave, but also holy fuck, I never want to live that day ever again, and I wish I never experienced it. It's crazy. It's
Damn.
crazy.
That is
Yeah.
that is that is crazy and relatable. It's
It's well, when I heard your story, I know it's like it's weird because like yeah, I know it's difficult.
yeah,
There's a kinship, there's like, but there's also like, there's a lot. It's too much to unpack.
yeah. And
Even when it's ugly.
yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, who knows? And again, that it's one of those things where like that's why to circle back to what I was that when I said like I don't know, like every day was I'm glad I woke up kind of day back home. And I was still, under 10 years old. My brother was 10, 11. And like he, early on in his life, he wanted that day to come to where he would have stood up to his dad. And who knows, had we not came at the age that we came, maybe that day would have came from my brother and I. And luckily it never did. We left before then. But man, that is
It would have
crazy. I
came to a
mean,
head, man.
yeah.
These things come to a head, and sometimes it
Hmm.
gets real bad. Like your
Yeah.
mom, you don't know what your mom saved you from. You don't know
Right.
what kind of crazy event, because you don't know how the dad takes these stand up to moments. It
Dude.
doesn't always go good, man. And
Yeah.
thank God your mom came when she came. So your brother
Dude.
never had to do anything too wild. Because your brother
No.
eventually he was 11. Your brother,
Hmm.
by the time he's 13, 14, starts becoming a teenager, testosterone's growing a little bit, maybe starts
Hmm.
shaving. Your dad puts hands on you. Now your brother next time will be like, he'll see it and he'll be like,
Hmm.
not next time. Next time I see that happen. And then something wild's gonna happen.
Right.
Shit like that
Right.
happens, man.
And I mean, the story that came because of a boxer and that his story came out, but it happens probably every day. when something like that
Dog,
happens, where the son stands up and
it
god
happens
damn.
in families more than people think.
Yeah.
It happens in families a lot. Like
Yeah,
things
and I
happen, man.
mean, and that's why when I was out there, I remember one night I was in Malta, and I was just kind of in my thoughts. It's before I competed, and I knew that you know, if successful or when successful, I was gonna come home and I was gonna put the my medal. I was gonna give it to my mom and put it around her neck. And I'm glad you know, I was successful. Came home. He was here waiting for us when my dad picked us up from the airport. And I took that medal out of my bag, put it around her neck, took a picture, and now I have
Mm.
that. And I was able to fulfill that because I was thinking about it. And I was like, I can't wait to do that. Can't wait to you know, thank my mom for allowing me to do what I just did. Because God,
Dude, yeah. You like, yeah, it makes you appreciate. And like in I don't know what the heck if like wherever your dad is, if he like finds out like
mhm.
your his son's a world champion. You know, I don't know what the heck. When all
I
this
think
comes out, like the bigger you get, the
yeah.
more you do.
Yeah, and I think he does because my stepdad, I think they follow each other on Facebook, and my stepdad posted about me and he was saying, you know, things about me, and he it's a it's a one of those things where I'm still um not ready to talk to him after the time that we've gone without talking to him. And like he was blowing up my phone when I think it was on the 12th. So it would have been the day. No, yeah, it would have been Monday night. Yeah, because it would have been Monday night because it would have been earlier in the day in Dominican Republic because it would have been
Hmm.
earlier back home. So he had found out, and it would have been after Brian or going into Brian's competition. I remember I was in Malta and my phone just kept going off, and then I look at it and it was a call from Dominican Republic and it's his number, and I was like, man, like I pretty sure I know why he's calling. You know, just competed, and so I'm sure he's seen. And I don't know. I just not ready to talk to the man just quite yet.
It's 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 um it's too bad that like your moments are have to be like with conflicted like that,
Hmm. Yeah.
you know. But on the flip side, you had your son, your wife, your mom waiting.
Hmm.
Like it's a beautiful moment at the same time too. It's
Correct.
more and more.
Correct.
This is life, man. Life is never freaking clean and easy,
Not at
right?
all. Not at all. And
It is always, yeah.
yeah, and it's you know when the time comes and I'm ready to for that chapter to welcome him back in my life, and it'll come. Hopefully it's not too late or whatever it might be, but I just with everything that happened in my life growing up and then after we came, um, all the negative that still surrounded him as an individual. And you know, when I met my wife and we moved in together and all of that negativity still followed, I just made that decision to just for the time being, you know, just it's best for me not to have that relationship with him. And it was like shortly after we were talking about having a family, and then I became a father, and and to me, like I couldn't process like all the whys, all the questions that I had, like how could he do this with all the love that I have for my son? Like, I mean, till this day, I still don't have those answers. And of course, it's better to go to the source than sit here and wonder. But um, yeah, I just yeah, so yeah.
It's like so. I got like family history as well, and but it's like it goes back another generation. And what I would tell you is sometimes boundaries help,
Hmm.
and like sometimes boundaries like not just for yourself, but when you let someone into your life, you also let it into your wife's life, your son's life, and
Right.
and sometimes boundaries aren't the worst thing. Maybe not like
Hmm.
the strictest doesn't mean you can't have conversations, whatever, here and there, but you're protecting yourself, you're protecting other people, because you'll be telling yourself like the only reason why my son will have to deal with my dad is if
Hmm.
I let that boundary go. So you're
Right.
also telling yourself like I will shield him, right? Like
Hmm.
you're not going
Yeah.
to be, no one wants to hear your stories or even your impact on me emotionally will affect how I am around and all that. You don't get to change my mood by
Correct.
texting me on certain days, whatever. So boundaries aren't the worst thing, man.
Yeah.
It's don't feel guilty about boundaries because it's not just for you. It's
Hmm.
for everyone around you, your whole life, everything you got is
Yeah.
you're doing good, man. You're doing amazing.
Yeah.
You're doing
I
better and good.
appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate it.
So
And I mean that's why it's always like the more time that passes, the harder it gets to pick up the phone just because it's like um I have more. I have a son, I have a wife, I have a life, I have a business now that I'm trying to launch and I just don't want like right now I'm in a great space in my life and I don't want to backtrack and relive memories that are now, you know, almost I go throughout my day. You don't think about them,
mhm.
and I just know it as soon as I pick up the phone and I hear this voice, it's like everything's gonna come back.
What
And
100%, man.
yeah,
Yeah. And yeah. And certain people will change a little, but not all. So
yeah,
it is tough, man. I have like family members like I've like if I cross them in the street, I don't even know who they are. There's reason though, man. There's
hmm,
like
hmm,
some a lot of the stuff is more relatable to a lot of people than put it that way.
yeah,
And like so yeah, man. What I would say is like, yeah, think about it long and hard and don't feel guilty about no boundaries. There's a
hmm,
reason why they were there and he knows.
yeah,
And some people like will try to hop in and be like, you got to talk to him, you got to forgive him, you got to whatever, but they don't know what they're
correct.
saying. They don't know. There's reasons and you know, and you got to keep that in mind as well.
Hmm.
They'll have the best of interest, but they don't know. And
100%.
that's why, like, later in life, like, I got strong boundaries, and there's reasons I've been taught that. You know, certain people, there's another thing. People wonder why people are the way they are. Like, you get taught these things.
Hmm.
These, and I don't know. But I mean, frick. Yeah, it's heavy, man. It's heavy. But this is like it's a good conversation to have, man. I guarantee you people are gonna listen to this and be like, yeah.
Yeah,
And they'll be going through the same type of stuff, similar type of situations. And
for sure. And I'm glad you reached out and because it's hard to kind of take conversations and not trying to like when we did our first podcast, like I just wanted to have that focus be on, hey, going to Worlds is what I'm trying to do. But I'm glad you reached out and we had a good first conversation and I appreciate you having me back on so I can share this side of my story because I never know who it's gonna touch and uh it probably helps me too talking about it because it's very few people
100%.
have very few people have heard my story, but now it's out there and it's and yeah, I'm glad I did this and I'm glad you had me back on so I can have an opportunity to tell this side of my story. Yeah.
It's yeah, man, 100% talking helps. That's for sure. That's
Yeah.
that's what other that's for sure, man. And like listening to this too, man. Like, how many times this is why like I'm obsessed with I can't tell you how many autobiographies of athletes I've read about. I mean, like way into the triple digits. I'm obsessed with it. And some of them have like such beautiful stories, but I say beautiful stories because their backgrounds, like, I mean, Andre Agassi, who's a tennis player. I'm not into tennis at all. He's got and like the U.S. Open, right?
Hmm.
He's American. His book is called, and he won the U.S. Open like a record number of times. His book is called Open, and he opens up about his past, and it is my friend, like alcoholic, abusive father, whatever, goes into it, and like it's such a beautiful story, but only because of everything he's gone through and what he ended up being. And I mean, his story, his father was from Iran, a boxer on the Iranian Olympic team,
Hmm.
but and a drunk, abusive, but somehow became obsessed with tennis to the point where he came up with a formula in his head. If I make Andre, who was like 8, hit 1 million balls by the time he's 16, I think he'll be the best in the world. So he bought one of those um, electronic ball shooters that shoot the balls at you. And he made Andre, he did the math. How old he is now, how many days are in the year, how many days until 16, how many balls it is a day. And he forced him every fucking day to go back there and start hitting balls in this machine to start firing them. And Andre Agassi had no idea what was going on as a kid. And again, dad abuse of the whole nine. And then the dad just became obsessed with it and was like, I'm pulling you out of school and I'm putting you in a tennis school that's like a private school for tennis players. And Andre's like his life is being dictated, totally
Hmm.
dictated to him. Now he's coming up in the 80s. And anyone who, if you ever look up Andre Agassi in the 80s, like, rock stars in the 80s with like the
Yeah, yeah,
mohawks and they'd have like look like weightlifting gloves or whatever. Like they'd look
yeah, yeah,
wild.
yeah.
Okay, cut off jeans and whatever. Like, but it was like so. Um, Andre Agassi said at one point, so he's playing tennis, but he's forced to, and he hates it because he's forced to, but he's done it every day, like at an insane level constantly under tutelage. Like his dad put his life savings, and his dad wasn't rich, but he just went so all in because he went crazy compulsive with it. Andre is phenomenal at it, but he hates it. And at 16, 17, 18, a teenager becomes famous because he's winning massive US Open and all these massive tours. But he hates all of it. And if you watch tennis in the 80s, this is not now, 80s, it was tight shorts, white shorts that are, it's so prim and proper. It was like such a prim and proper sport. Andre
Hmm.
Agassi started rebelling. He'd walk onto the tennis court with cutoff jeans, gloves, hair dyed 6 different colors, like he's Sean O'Malley, mohawk, like whatever, and he walked out like that. And people thought, like he's just doing this for attention, but they didn't know. Like just like we're talking about, everyone's got a story. No, there's a reason that kid hates this, hates it, and he'll be beaten in the whole nine. And this is him rebelling because I hate it, but I have to do it. So we'd show up looking like a rock star. And the prim and proper people were like, I can't believe this kid. And then he started getting, but people started, younger crowd from the 80s were like, this guy looks like he should be in Guns N' Roses.
Hmm.
And people started following tennis that would not have normally followed tennis. He started making deals, like sponsorship deals as a teenager. And there was like a fax machine or something that sponsored him. And in it, he goes, image is everything. And the image was so dope of the faxes. The image was so clean, but his image, it's the double entendre tying it together.
Uh-huh.
Images it. So he's holding a picture of himself. He goes, image is everything. And he's like 17, 18. Just so his life blows up. Then he becomes, so he's like the best tennis player in the world. And now he's got the conundrum. I am the best at the world at so I mean the best at the world. Some people will never be the best at the world at something, but I hate it. But it brings me millions of dollars, fans. I can speak to people, and I still kind of love it. And that's when he started. So he's a pro at 16, and his book starts, the book open starts with the forward intro where he talks about, let me tell you about my last match. He's 36. Long after he could have stopped, he kept playing. His back is ruined. All of his contemporaries that he played against at 17, 18, 20, and then a new wave came, mid 20s, and then 30s, and then they're all gone. And he's gone through 3 different waves of different athletes, and he's still in the game at 36, and he's finishing his last match, and he's like, fucking love it. I hate it, and I can't stop, but it's like it's such, I mean, it's like art. His story is art, is the
Wow.
way he says it is art, and the way you go through his life to the end, it's like tennis became the abusive relationship that he had with his father. You understand? Like it's that.
Hmm.
It's a love hate. It's an abusive relationship, but he gets a lot of it anyway. It's just such a beautiful. Anyways, to the
Wow.
point of yeah, man. Dog. When it comes to a good book, don't give me the
I might
Audible.
have to
I'll read
get
it.
I might have to get into reading autobiographies by of athletes because
Oh, some of them are
dude,
like touch you. Muhammad Ali's written in the 70s will
uh-huh.
touch you and like you'll never be the same. Some books, if you read like someone who knows what they're doing and they work with a writer to help them, you'll never forget it. And their story impacts you. And that's why like people I know like I like doing these podcasts. Some people do podcasts where they do preview shows, recap shows, let's talk about the news that's been going on. I do a lot of podcasts where I go places with people and I talk
Hmm.
about their story because I love a good story. And that's why like I appreciate you coming on and talk about your story. And when people
Hmm.
come on, like I think people know I appreciate and will honor that story. And like I can, I think too, like I'm a little older, so people might feel a little more comfortable to handle it in an appropriate way. But like you've seen enough, you hear enough, the more
Hmm.
the older you get and you understand, and man, a good story, like it's touching, man. You don't forget it. So that's why when people listen to a podcast and someone comes on like you came on and you tell your story, that's why I tell you like you don't know who's listening. You don't
Yeah.
know what's going on. And it's always you might be like, I don't know how I feel about talking about this ugly side. It's a beautiful side though.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah.
your bigger story, the bigger picture beautiful. That's
Yep.
what makes
Yeah.
it, you
And I
know?
am starting to learn that. And I am starting to learn that and even when I was thinking about talking about all this today, it felt easier, and I know it'll get easier down the line when the topic comes up and it definitely helps. Of course, like you said, talking it helps and just allowing other people in and show, being vulnerable and that's all right. That's all right.
Right. Yeah, man. It's better than all right, man. Like at some point, who knows? You're after when all is said and done, you're 25, you're 26. But when you're 36, Andre Agassi age, when he's looking back, your
Hmm.
story could be amazing. And who knows
Yeah.
what projects you're telling your story on. If you're writing a book, docu-series or whatever. Um,
Hmm.
who knows, man? And
Yeah.
you're gonna have who knows the different waves of athletes you'll have gone through. Dude, you met Taylor Atwood, you talk to Taylor Atwood
Yeah.
about whatever. Like you meet up with people, be like, holy shit, I just had a conversation with Taylor Atwood.
Yeah.
Like it is what it is. And he's like saying, I am with Wascar when I do the I am with series. He's posting
Uh-huh.
that in his stories and like, you know, it's wild. It's the
It is.
wildest. Also, the Bobby Shez I was telling you about, one more thing, and let
Uh-huh.
me add this. Um, later on in life, he was boxing and before he turned pro, everyone wants to go to the Olympics, right? Because if you do well in the Olympics, if you win an Olympic gold medal, you turn pro, you could sign a multi-million dollar contract. So
Hmm.
you want to go to the Olympics before you turn pro, if possible. You could still turn pro and make it. It's a lot. It's tougher. Your first 25 fights, you're fighting for almost nothing, and you could eventually make it through, or you could sign a big fat contract. He had a box off with some guy, and I think he won two of the three matches and he made it on the team, but he had his nose broken. So he couldn't go to the Olympics. So the entire Olympic team and his alternate are going to the Olympics. They board a plane. Now he's got a stepdad at this point in his life. Okay. They board a plane and he thinks his life is over. He thinks I just missed the biggest opportunity in my life changing moment. I just missed it. And he is so upset with himself. He's in his room, depressed the whole night.
Hmm.
And then at one point, his dad's hammering the door. It's like, I got to talk to you. And brings his dad, and again, it's like the 80s, so it's not internet or whatever. He comes down into the kitchen, says, take a seat, take a seat. Takes a seat, and he's like, you feel sorry for yourself? He's like, Dad, not now. And he's like, that plane went down. Yeah.
Dude, goosebumps just now. What the hell?
Yeah,
What?
Bobby fucking Shez. I'm telling him, can you imagine thinking your life is over because you didn't get on that, you can't be on that plane with these guys and you can't whatever. And then you would do anything to be one of those guys.
Yeah.
And then you find out that plane went down. Every single one of them died. And Bobby ended up winning 2 world titles as a pro. He did it the hard way, the gritty way. But that's the way Bobby's gonna go because now you know his background. That's Bobby fucking Shez, kid.
Damn. I'm definitely gonna look. Does he have an autobiography?
Uh, he does not. I'll check if he does. Actually, I never found one. If he does, but I'm a big time boxing guy, so I like read interviews. I got boxing magazines from like a million years ago, and I keep them.
Okay.
So,
Damn,
but
because
if I find one, I'll send it to you, dude.
okay.
There's stories, man. There's a million stories out there. It's crazy, but yeah. In the moral of that story, obviously, is like you think you feel sorry for yourself right now. You don't know the bigger picture.
Hmm.
Hang in there. If something got taken from you, maybe it's for a reason it got taken from you. That's the obvious one right there, but this probably happens all the time in life. Why didn't I didn't get that girl, didn't get that job, didn't get, you don't know. Just keep going. Go through
Yeah.
your path. Assume the best. You don't know. Don't feel sorry for yourself. Well, you're feeling sorry for yourself. You don't know what would happen if you would walk that path. Could have been way different, could have been way worse.
Yeah.
Just stay on your path.
Stay on your
And
path.
that's the moral of the story for that.
Jesus, dude.
Dude, do
Yeah.
we get deep, homeboy? We do. For the
Dude.
first, for the, now people know how I could stay up all night shooting the shit in a hotel lobby
Yeah.
because whatever. Or we go for burgers or whatever. You were saying, like, we're talking about the weather, whatnot. Now I'm in the southern dipping point of Canada that we at the southern point of Canada are laterally with like the northern part of California, and there's a lot of parts of the US are actually more north. And then I was explaining how tons of people in Canada are right around that borderline. And there are parts of Canada where you go, like, it is like you won't find nobody, like there's no cities, you could drive forever and you'll never find somebody else. And but where I am at around the GTA of Toronto, there is like millions of people and it's just major, it's a major city, and like there's Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, whatever the shit, all within a drive. And you were talking about how there's a show called Alone. Now pick
Correct.
back up if you don't mind with this because this sounds great.
Yeah, yeah. So then there's 8 to 12 people. I can't remember exactly how many people get selected. The show, they select a specific location and they all get scattered out. And usually like in an element where you can like fish or you can hunt, so on and so forth, for them to have food resources. And they're
Ah,
out there by themselves, and it's all about who can outlast, who can stay out there the longest. But the plot is that you never know how many people are left because when somebody taps out, they don't tell you. Somebody taps out, cool, they come and get them, but you're still out there without, no finish line in sight. I think the longest season that I've watched, they stayed out to like 80 something days, and people lose
holy
crazy.
shit,
Yeah,
man.
because it all comes down to who can outlast them. So some people will like knowing that they're going to be on the show will gain a bunch of weight just in case they have to starve to stay out there, right? And it's a pretty
Dude.
cool show. Yeah, and then the reason why I brought it up is because I've noticed that a couple of the episodes are filming in Canada. They're like in these middle of nowhere in Canada, and it's like usually in like that northern middle area of Canada. Like the
Yeah.
very last season I watched was specifically in a lake in Canada that it's huge. It's so big that it has its own weather patterns and all this craziness. And yeah, it was filmed in Canada the very last season I watched.
Um, yeah, there are parts of Canada, man, that so it's so weird. Like Canada is it's so vast geographically speaking, it's so
Hmm.
huge. So the southern parts, like I said, in the summertime, 75 degrees Fahrenheit, in the mid 20s or more. It'll be in the late 70s, close to 80 Fahrenheit, and it'll be in like the for Celsius mid 20s to 30. Like it can get hot. And in the wintertime, super cold, like 20 below freezing for you guys. I don't know, man. It's
Dang.
like crazy.
Yeah.
But on the southern parts where most of the population is, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and all in between are like all the major cities, like Hamilton, Mississauga, whatever. It feels like a normal population, but Canada is so vast. There are parts of Canada that like, dog, if you ever went missing, like good luck, kid. And it's crazy you talk about that TV show. When I was when I was on a reality TV show, I remember there was a reality TV show. I don't know if you remember. This is probably before your time because it's going back like 10 years. But it's a reality TV show called Manhunter. And they
I
would
think I've
take
heard of it. I think I've heard of that.
it's probably got rerun somewhere. And they would take you way out in the middle of wilderness.
Uh-huh.
And you start at one point and he starts at one point. He's on horseback and
Okay.
he has like a lasso and he's got like I think he might even have like booby traps or some shit like that. I don't know. But I know he's got a lasso and he's a cowboy and he tracks. Or maybe
Okay.
it's man tracker. Maybe it's man tracker. But he tracks. And I mean like for real, people who on trails, they could tell if trail's been broken. They can tell
Right.
this is what they do. When people go missing, actually, as a matter of fact, I remember someone did go missing, some kid, and Man Tracker actually joined the hunt. And this was when the Man Tracker show was on, and he's famous.
Wow.
Because again, you go missing in certain parts, you're in big trouble. So Man Tracker joined the hunt. So the premise of the show, you start at one point and he's going to track you. You have to get from one point to another completely on your feet. But you have like a compass, you have certain things, but it's you in the elements, and you got to traverse like I don't know how many miles, man, but it's a good chunk. You got to go through river. You better know your thing because Man Tracker you get a day ahead because it's going to be a few days, and then on the second day, Man Tracker gets released. And he's gonna get you, and he's on your ass, and you are
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's crazy. And he's got a lasso. He literally lassos people up. Like he's got to take you to the ground. He's got to hog tie you up and take you to the ground, which is
What?
ridiculous. I know
Is
it's
there like a
crazy.
prize or something at the end if you like get
If you
away or
make it,
whatever?
so in terms of the people that made it, like he more times than not would catch you. You think you got a day, but you're on foot. He's on horseback, but you have the wilderness. I
Uh-huh.
mean, like, are you kidding me? You could throw me on horseback. I'm not going to find you, man. Have a good day, man. have a good voyage, my man. I hope you enjoy your prize money. I'm not finding you, man. I'm gonna be doing cool. Me and this horse are gonna be whatever. Just going or gallivanting, frolicking we're on our own adventures. As a matter of fact, you gotta come and find me because I'll be
For real.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm gonna be at in the forest. All right. We're like, well, we lost our season 2 Man Tracker. Did anyone vet this fucking guy? Where did he come from? But this is when you lie on your job application and
For real.
somehow I'm Man Tracker. But when I was on my TV show, so we were on the same broadcast channel. And this is when they had TV, they had streaming services, but streaming services weren't nearly as big. So we were on the same TV channel. I mean, bear with me, man. People actually watch television at this point. Like but it was a weird. The reality TV was way bigger. YouTube was like on, but nobody had big YouTube channels.
Right.
And so we're on the same broadcast channel. And all of us on that broadcast channel would like be brought in for like press junkets at buildings where you sit in a room, different press rotates and ask you questions. And you go live like on like, whatever, some kind of talk shows, but not talk shows like Jimmy Kimmel, but talk shows like daytime talk shows, shit like that. Still, it's pretty cool, right? And Man Tracker. And he cut a commercial. I cut a commercial, and it's like from all of us at OLN and City TV, happy holidays. My commercial goes, his doesn't because I did it better than him. Oh shit, Man Tracker don't like that. So then
Oh
I'm
shit.
tweeting him, and I'm like, man, I'm watching your show, and like I don't think you got what it takes, man. I thought he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm tweeting him like, because they encourage us to tweet, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I think I want to come on your show, man, and I think I'm going to play you up. And he's like, 6-pack, because it's reality TV. Like I'm 6-pack Lapadat even then at the time. He's like, come on the show, please come on the show. And friggin' he's like, we're talking shit on Twitter. And I'm like, literally like, I think I could do this though. And I'm watching videos, survival videos, and like I'm talking to boys who hunt and shit like that. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
how do I do this or whatever? And like, okay, you gotta like how I would disguise my scent and the whole fucking night. Then like 3 weeks later, find out that his show get canceled. And like 3 weeks after that, find out my show's not doing another season. And I'm like, damn it, man, that was my window of
Ah,
opportunity, man. I could have been a
dang.
backtracker. One of those shows where it's like, I don't know. I like those shows are cool as hell to me. Like a
They
reality, like
are.
I'm not big on reality TV show, but a show like that, hell yeah.
Uh-huh. Low key, I mean that sounds like a cool show. I feel like if it ever came back today, I feel like it would get a good amount of traction because Alone is pretty big here. Like a lot of people, like all of my family watches Alone, and that was a it's kind of like that. It's like surviving out there and seeing how long you can be out there.
See, I don't know about like, okay, first off, Alone sounds all right. Naked and Afraid sounds like, what are we doing here? What
Yeah,
what are, what are
yeah,
we
that one I
doing?
don't know. I don't know about
What,
that
what,
one.
what are we? What are we? Who was in the producer room? Like, this is a good idea. You know what I'm saying? No, this is a good idea. Everybody, you
Yeah,
know what I think? They gotta get fucking naked. It's like, and we scare the shit out of them. We
dude.
call it Naked and Afraid. We call it Naked and Afraid. And they're like,
Man, that's the
and
one
this
show I
is
could
shit
not
that
get behind.
this is shit that me and you come up with in a hotel lobby, not TV producers, and it goes on the air. But it
Dude.
worked, man. But yeah, it's kind of the same type of premise, but I love those kind of shows, man. I
Yeah.
wish I would have got onto one of those. But yeah, man,
It's
and
never too
Alone
late, man.
sounds.
Audition for it. Just hit him
I,
up.
the only problem is, man, 80 days. If I go against some freaking dude who needs this,
Uh-huh.
where I'm like, look at man, I'll tell you what, I got 2 weeks of vacation days. If everyone folds by then, we all could. We're gonna wrap it up. Let's hope it's somewhere cold as shit or like hot as shit, and people like, I'm
I
out
know.
2 weeks.
Like I
But
got Sheffield on week 3 and
I got listen, I got Sheffield. All right. I'm not trying to go. I'm not trying to. I'll use. I'll talk to my work. Be like, I got 4 weeks solid. That's it. That's it. But anyone's going past that, hats off to you, whatever. But
yeah.
yeah, somebody holding out for 80 days, man. You
Yeah,
know
dude.
that guy. That guy just
Some
like
people quit their jobs, everything. Like they go all the definition of all in, all in. They quit because I think the prize money, I think it's 100K. I might be off on that, but I
oh
think
shit.
it's 100K. But it's like leave your job completely with no guarantee, and they go all in. And of course, everybody's confident coming in. They're all telling their backgrounds. I've done this training. I've survived here. All this good stuff. And then people just start tapping out because either they can't get food, they can't get shelter, and then they're forced out, or they get sick. Those are the ones that I feel terrible for. Like they get sick or they cut themselves and the cut gets infected and it's like
Oh,
yeah.
lose a toe. Listen, man. This is what that's all good. Those people who come in with like prepped training. Here's what you don't want to face. Okay. Recent divorcee. She's going after all of his fucking money.
For
Okay.
real.
And he needs that money and he needs a little time off from her. Okay.
For
80
real.
days, he'll be there triple digits, Playboy. He doesn't want to go. Okay. He's not going back to society. He doesn't want to see his phone. All right. And he needs that fucking money. That's the guy you got to worry about.
For
You
real.
know?
For
Yeah.
real.
You got to worry about
Man.
that. But yeah, but anyways. So how long you been back? Because you didn't when did you leave Worlds? How long did you end up
I
being able to stay?
I I had to leave on the 13th, the morning of the 13th of June. So I've been back now for what is that, 2 weeks? Like little over 2 weeks.
So how well did you so how long were you there for total?
Total, I was there for 8 days, 7 nights.
It's like a whole nother world, isn't it?
Dude, I know it, man. And after being there for the period that I was there, it's like, man, I wish I could have stayed longer. And it all literally came down to because I was whenever I don't know where I got it wrong, but when I was looking at the calendar for Worlds, shortly after Nationals, I was like, all right, it's gonna happen this day, and then here in America, there's a new holiday called Juneteenth, federal holiday, and I'm in banking, so it's a federal holiday, so I knew I was gonna get it off. So based on what I was seeing, I was counting on that day to not have to use PTO since I get it off automatically. And then when the final schedule came out of like the schedule of the whole lifting and everything, it was a week earlier. So then it took that day that I was counting on having off, and I no longer had it available. So then I had already used all of my PTO on for like PA nationals, for the holidays, for my wife's birthday, so on and so forth. And then I was left with just a random having to work on that following Friday after Worlds. So then I
Damn.
had to, yeah. So literally, it was just a miscalculation, or else, I mean, I would have had that from the moment I had flown in all the way until that following Tuesday of the quote of the next week. I would have been off work. So I would have stayed through the entire thing and experienced it all and explored more of Malta. My wife wanted to go to like Italy and stuff like that. So we had all these plans and they were all just like that taken away because
What
of
what
a
what,
single day.
what about would your work have been like they wouldn't have given you one more day or something, or somebody, your
Nah,
boss, been like, dude, you just
nah.
won the world championships. I would have called you. If I was your boss, I would have, if you won and you did, I would have called you like, listen, man, you feeling sick? I think you're sick. I think you're
Dude,
gonna take a sick. I would have done that. If I was your
yeah.
boss, I'd be like, take a sick day, man. You just won us, you won America. This is for America. America
Dude,
thanks
how
you, young man.
man, I wish. And then like, but all the flights were because I mean, like when I had left, my boss had talked to me. He's like, hey, just let me know if your flight gets delayed, all that stuff. You know what I mean? So like all of that crossed my
He's
mind. You know what I
he's
mean?
winking at you. He's
I know, but
when you came home, when you showed up to work, he'd be like, "What the fuck?" He pulls you aside. Can I talk to you a minute, Wascar? He'd be like, "What you doing here, man? Why didn't your flight get delayed?" He's like, "What are you?" He's like, "My man." He's like, "I can't say it. You got to do it." but he's like,
maybe
"Nobody's
that was the
firing you when you're
chance
the
that I
world
didn't take.
champion."
I
Yeah, he's like, "No one's firing the world champion. Who don't want to be the most unpopular guy at work?"
know.
But it is what it is.
But
But it
dude,
is
man.
it is though. First off, when you got back,
Uh-huh.
um, and we'll go to like your experience there. But when I first get back and I go to a normal life, and you got a normal job, I got a normal job. Dog, I'm a account manager, project manager, and it's like totally on powerlifting related.
Yeah.
It isn't. It is hard to get back into the groove, huh?
Dude. Oh my. I mean, I when I got back in and I had to work that Friday, I don't think I did a single thing work. I was there as a body, to be honest. I was there as a body. I
Head
don't
count.
I, I don't think I like normally what I think the one thing that I did is I did go through my emails because I didn't want to come back the following week to like 400 plus emails. Like I'm pretty sure I went through my emails. That's like the only thing I did to make sure I didn't have nothing important or people to follow up with. That's about it. Everything else, I was just like scrolling on my phone. I got two monitors at work, so I was like Worlds on one screen, YouTube and all this
Yeah,
stuff on the other.
yeah, man. It's
Yeah,
tough. It's the toughest. I remember we did a group chat for Worlds, and
right.
every now and then after you were gone, still seeing you in there looking, I'm like, ah, it broke my heart. Like my
I know.
man's is still 1 foot in though. He's still got one
Dude,
foot in though. He's
and it was like one of those things where like the day that I left was when like Amanda got there, Jesus, Jessica, I think Jonathan had just gotten there, Gavin had just gotten there. Like the day that I left is like the second half of the team
uh
had just gotten there, and I was like, ah man, yeah,
it but however, um when you still were there for like a week and
right, right,
you experienced it and you so talking about it, it really is something special when you're in that freaking lobby, huh? I tell
dude.
everybody all the time about just chill in the lobby for a minute, just
Mhm.
or just up and down the strip, and you don't know who you're gonna bump into, who you're gonna see, and it's
Wow.
something else, man.
Dude, it was a surreal thing. Just like you explained it on our first podcast, and it was like, I was leaving in and out of the room, getting water, getting food, just going out with the family, and in the corner of your eye you see Panna, and then and then here you see somebody else, and then I mean for the first few days I didn't see that many people because I was one of the first people there. I think Jessica and I were probably the first two at the hotel. So we didn't see many people, but the closer it got to competition or whatever, it was like you see all these people that you've been following on Instagram for so long, and then you're like, "Yep, that's them. Yep, that's
You-
them," and that was just wild.
I know, man. And it's easy just to talk to people if you just it literally everyone first off links up at the hotel lobby. If you're gonna go for
Yeah,
like lunch, walk, I can literally, if I want to go for a walk, I'll ask people in a group chat. Like I'll just fucking create a group chat. Like
yeah,
just
yeah,
boom, just make what group chat. I'm not in that group chat. Just make one. Like
yeah, yeah.
just add
That's
people to be
true.
like, who wants to go for a walk? I just did that randomly. I'm like, I'm just
Yeah,
making a
yeah.
group chat. Makes it easier to talk to people. Or I'll just like whatever. Or I'll just like walk into the hotel lobby. Like, who am I gonna see? And they're like, what are you doing right now? You hungry? Who's
Yeah,
hungry? Have you eaten yet? You haven't eaten?
yeah,
All right, you want to go? Because
let's-
it's just we're all tourists. We're all
yeah.
stuck here. We're all out of town, man. Nobody's coming with their crew from home. You're just like, yeah, all right,
Right,
let's go. And you never know what adventures you're gonna end up in. And some people end up
dude.
in some adventures, man.
Hey,
Did,
hey, I did that. I don't know the stories. I know the Delaney had stories of his own.
no, okay, so let's talk about this for a second because that was in our group chat. This is the wildest. Delaney in our
You
group
can't
chat
make this
goes,
up.
Delaney, you can't make this up. And Delaney, God bless him, is like such a sweetheart. And he's a smart guy. He's in finance, educated, smart dude, but he's a
Yeah.
sweetheart. And he's too much of a sweetheart. So Delaney is in our world's group chat and he's like, guys, you're never gonna believe this. And he leaves a voice message with it. And I'm like, what? He's like, this is the wildest, seriously. And this is like voice message, and we're like, I don't know what happened with Delaney. So he's like, for everyone listening. So he's like, the lady who cleans the room was outside with her cart and was talking to somebody else outside of his room, but it was like a talk, like some kind of whatever, some voices kind of rates like, what the fuck is going? Opens the door, looks, sees the housekeeping lady, and sees some other lady. Closes the door, goes back in, like, all right, well, whatever. And then a couple minutes pass, and hello, and she goes, hi, can I talk to you a minute? And Delaney opens the door, and it's that lady that was talking to the housekeeper, and she's like, I gotta come in, I need to use some water, I have a heart problem. And Delaney's like, all right. Gives her some water. And she's like, oh, I'm not myself right now. I have a heart problem, a heart issue, whatever. He's like, all right, take some water, whatever. And she's looking around, all weird, leaves. And Delaney's like, wow, that was weird. Only this time hey, it's me. And that's it. Dog, that's a problem right there. When she's that familiar with you, great. Me again. Remember me, the weirdo who came in your room? She comes in his, he's like, the lady's too nice. Lets the lady in his room. And she's like, I have a heart issue. My heart's pounding through my chest right now. Like, and he's like, oh God, it's terrible. She's like, did I take a shower? Dude, if it's me, it's absolutely not.
Absolutely.
You are not getting naked in my freaking. I'm a man. What are you
Oh,
talking about? I
dude.
don't know you, lady. She, can I take a shower? Can I get naked and use your shower? And she's like, the cold water is going to calm down my body and cool my body and lower my heart rate. Delaney, who himself has a heart this size in New York, is like, oh, that's really awkward and uncomfortable, but you, he's like, but you look like you need to have a shower. And I'm like, Delaney, please don't tell me. He goes, I let her use my shower. And I'm like, dog, you don't let her use your shower, bro. And he's from New York.
Oh
He's
my
I'm like,
God,
for a dude from New York, your street smarts is not on point, man. This is
dude.
not New Yorker attitude. And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah. And God bless she. So I don't know what the hell. At least he heard the water running. And when she was leaving, and there's a commotion, but Heather Connor, who's
Yep.
across the hallway from Delaney, heard something. I think he said she heard something or whatever, and came over and Delaney and asked Delaney what's going on. And Delaney said she's got like a heart problem and she needed to use my shower. Heather's looking at him like, the fuck? And so thank God Heather's there. And Heather's like,
Oh
you have a
yeah.
heart problem. And she's like, the lady got defensive because she's lying. And she's like, excuse me, don't ask me about my health issues. And she's like, well, excuse you. I'm just asking because my friend said you had a heart problem and you're in there trying to use his shower. So they get into it, which deflects off of Delaney, which is probably good. They end up leaving Delaney's room, which is good. And I don't know, her and Heather kind of got into it, but she ended up because Heather was there, this lady I think was like, this isn't going to work, whatever she's trying to do.
Right.
And then eventually security gets called. That lady does not have a room in the hotel. They don't know how she got into the hotel. She gets arrested down by the lobby and taken away. And we are all like, my dude, you got to watch yourself, man. God bless. How did you make it, dog? How you make it this far, dog? You know?
And then come to find out, it's something that she does to try to steal from people's rooms.
Well, 100% on that.
Yeah.
But worse, man, if you're a dude and some strange lady is looking to take advantage of you by stealing from you, you do not let a lady into your room and get naked and use your
Mm-mm.
shower.
Nah,
It's
nah.
your word against hers now, man.
Yes,
You are
dude.
vulnerable, sir.
In
Like
another country.
in another country, dude, you don't know what the scam is. Or it's like, all right, give me $500 and this isn't going to be a scene. Or we do it the other way. And
Yeah.
it's like, if you know she's in your room and she's trying to steal from you. I don't know how desperate she is or whatever, but
Right.
she should never be in your room, man. Or
Dude.
like if she's in your room, you goes in your washroom, text some guys and be like, I'm in room, whatever. I'll let you in. Come on up.
Yeah.
You don't want things happen, man. You don't want this.
You
God
don't
bless.
want to
Look at
be in that. Yeah.
you don't want to be in this. At least the lady went into the group chat. And if some dudes rolled up, a bunch of Jack powerlifters could have rolled up as well and be like, okay, say
For real.
less, we'll be down there.
And that was
But
before he competed too. Like imagine all that hidden.
dude, she could have if it was after, she could have left with your gold medal. you know? Damn.
Oh my
Yeah, that was
gosh.
crazy. Yeah, that's right. That was before he competed because we were all like, probably did she have a British accent? Probably German center.
I know.
What accent did she have? I want to know. He's like, well, probably a Canadian
Man.
accent, man.
Like so many things could have went wrong, and man, I'm sure there's other stories, and man, I hope I never have one of them.
I've had a few, man. I've been around since like 2016 doing these. There's always like everybody goes out and parties on certain nights or whatever. And
Right.
like banquet night or whatever. There's always like there's hundreds of us all at the same spot, all on vacation, all feeling the same energy. And hundreds of people at a certain point afterwards are going to be like, let's go do our thing.
Well,
And
yeah.
then God
How
knows.
was the Wednesday there where everybody had that break?
Yeah, man, because I was like,
Is that a
I'm
blur?
chilling like damn near. I'm chilling every single night, man. I don't miss a night. Every night was the same night for me, man. It was I was out often, but I was like, I don't gotta be out drinking. I just want to hang out.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
have drinks on like a couple nights, but I don't gotta
Mhm.
go out drinking every night. But the thing is, like, even like with like when I was hanging out with you, Brian Lee, and like, let's go
Yeah,
hang.
yeah.
You guys are like, you're out late. And then like Penna walks in afterwards, like he just won, and it's like, all the French people are up there, and Penna gave a speech in French, but
Oh, that's
people were
cool.
feeling it, dude. People were feeling it. Somebody was recording it, and it was like I could hear that you could hear certain words you got like a keep and shit like that.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever. But you don't want to miss this stuff, man. Like
Yeah,
when
yeah.
people just had their moment, you just have your moment, you win. Let's go. Let's go for burgers. Let's hang out. Whatever. Let's just what am I gonna go back to the hotel room and what?
Yeah.
I'll sleep when
Dude,
I get
next
back.
year I will definitely be planning a lot better to make sure that I can stay because it is a little bit tougher like as when you compete on day one to stay through the entire thing and
100%.
this year given that there was that extra break in the middle of Worlds. It's like one more day you have to be there, that there's nothing going on per se. I know they had that meeting that day or whatever, but it was, but I could have, I planned on staying the entire time. Just that one day just messed it all. Well, not the one day, but just the fact that it was a week earlier than I had anticipated
Mm.
messed it all up for me.
It's tough because, well, here it is. At least you get done right off the bat,
Right?
and then you got the rest of the week where you're in spectator mode. You're in, you do whatever the hell you want to do. But however, you have to be there before that. So you would have to
Right.
be there the longest of anybody because you got to acclimatize. So you're
Correct.
there, whereas some people, while they're acclimatizing,
Hmm.
they don't have to be there before the competition actually starts. They could just be sitting in the stands watching or whatever, just chilling.
Correct.
And you know what I mean? So you are like, yeah, it takes
Yeah.
an
So I
extra
yeah,
amount.
so I left Washington. So I competed on June 11th. I left Washington on June 4th. So I
Oh,
was
see?
already traveling, and then I landed in Malta because of the 8 hours that I lost going there. I landed on June 6th. So, but
Yeah.
it would be June 5th for me essentially. So I landed my time June 5th, Malta time June 6th, then competed on the 11th, and then I bounced on the 13th. So I was, those 8 days, and then if everything would have went to plan, I would have been there for what would that would have been 2 weeks essentially. I would have been there. Yeah. Yeah.
But it goes by, man.
It like just like this, especially after you compete, especially like I competed. I mean, my session was in the morning. That Sunday, it was like a blur because it was
It's
gone. I was such on a high that it was gone just like that. And before I knew it, I was out late and I was staying up, but like before I knew it, it was time to go to sleep, and I was like, that was crazy.
Here's the thing about that day you compete at the IPF World Championships. You wake up. What time did you wake up?
5 in the morning.
Okay. You wake up and you know exactly what you're doing that day, and you know exactly how many people are watching. You seen the views?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like USAPL Raw Nats from a year ago. The peak was 24,000, and in 3 days, IPF got like over 100K. It was like the
Yeah.
views are insane. You've seen all
Yeah.
the digital assets being created by like SPD, Powerlifting America,
Yeah.
the IPF, and everyone's doing it. Like, all the content pumping out. When you wake up that day and you know what's about to happen,
Yeah.
you wake up at 5. You feel every second, every minute as it ticks towards weigh-ins,
Hmm.
as it ticks towards showtime. You feel it. Where other days in your life, you wake up in the morning, and when you wake up to getting dressed, eating, showering, and going to work, that 2 hours, whatever it is, what do you?
Gone.
It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
it's gone. You just woke up
Yeah.
and the 2 hours is gone. It's gone
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
quick. You're like, I barely got time to shave. It is what it is. You wake up and it's time to compete at Worlds. You were aware of everything. You were like, is
Yeah.
that coffee taking forever to pour? Like when I get a coffee in the lobby, I'm like, damn, it's taking forever. Like, let's go. Like you're like aware of everything because
Yeah.
like you're okay. You're 5 people out from weighing in. That's the longest 5 people of your life, though, bro.
Oh my God.
You're in the
Yeah.
lineup for weigh-ins with everyone else around the world, and you
Yeah.
see them all in their national team jackets and their coaches. It's the longest, and like however long weigh-ins takes, that's the longest. It feels like everything. The reason why is because you are present
Yes.
in your normal day. You're always thinking about something else or looking
Hmm.
towards something else, or you're waiting for something after work, or you're waiting for lunch, or you're waiting for that email to come in. You got a meeting and you're thinking about the meeting. So you're blah, 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 whatever the shit. When you're out at the world championships, you are present constantly because it's too much stimulus and it's too much holy smokes. And
Dude.
you're present. And when you're present, it lasts forever. And if
Dude.
I can
Yes.
make every day of your life, if I can make you that present for every day of your life, you live to be 80, but you'll feel like you live to be 1,000.
Dude. Dude. That is a great way of putting it, and I couldn't agree more. Because yeah, when I woke up well, when I say I woke up, I slept like 2 hours, by the way, because
Ex-
I get performance anxiety, dude, like the worst.
Normal, normal.
So, I woke up from a nap, and I wake up, I text my coach Steve, and I knew that he was gonna wake up like about an hour later to kind of check in and see where we were at. And I focus on making weight, but just like that, like every minute that goes by, I almost see it. It's like in my head, it's like the clock's ticking. I got to get down in 30 minutes because I got to step on the scale. And gosh, dude, what an experience that was. Just wow.
From first off, was it tough making weight?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I woke up and I was half a pound over.
Okay. Okay.
I would have woken up on weight had I gotten sleep, but I couldn't have my body, of course, didn't relax, and I didn't get no REM sleep. So I woke up half a pound over. So I just kind of woke up. I was chilling around. I didn't start actively trying to get down to 59 kilos up until I was an hour out, because I can lose a pound in an hour. I know that, like, just like spitting. So knowing that knowledge, I didn't bother. I woke up at 5. I was just keeping notes of everything that was going on, and I started getting down to 59 about an hour before weigh-ins, because I knew I'm not gonna lose more weight than I need to. And I got down to 59, 30 minutes before weigh-ins, and I went down there, checked in with the team coaches, and I was like, it was so weird too, because just like you say, I was so present, and I was so in my head about everything. Like I was thinking about like what's about to go down. Like
Yeah,
this
for
is
sure.
it. This is
Yeah.
it. And in 2.5 hours, I'm gonna step on the scale in 30 minutes, and this is it. Everything that I've done is gonna come down to that. But the second that I stepped on my scale and I knew that I was done. I was done cutting weight. There was nothing else left to do besides lift. It was the calmest feeling I have ever felt in my life when it came to
Really?
competing. And it was weird, right? And I'll touch on it later. But I was talking to Taylor on the day of my competition at nighttime. But when I had stepped on the scale, like during this whole build up to this entire two worlds, I was just nervous. Of course, it's my first world championships, trying to do what I was trying to do. Every day I was thinking about it, and I was nervous. But the second that I stepped on my scale in my bathroom, everything was quiet because my wife was sleeping, my son was sleeping. It was just me in that bathroom with my thoughts, and on the scale, me and the scale. And then the second that I stepped on 59 kilos, everything just went away. And I was like, I knew that, like, I just knew that it was time. Like it was almost like in a when you're watching a movie and the main character is getting ready to go to battle, and there's a huge buildup, and then the time comes where the door opens and it's time to go. And it was kind of like that. It was just like stepped on my scale, 59, and I was like, I like told myself, I looked in the mirror and I was like, this is it, it's go time. And it was the calmest I have been throughout
No
anything
sh
competitive that I've done, but it was the biggest competition that I've ever done in
by
my life.
far. Yeah.
And it was the calm, like when I then to furthermore, when I went downstairs, I had my headphones in, and I was just like, there's what's about to happen. And it's one of those things where, like, it has to be because of everything that I did leading up into it, all the preparation. Like I knew, like, truly and genuinely, I did everything in my power to have the outcome that I did at Worlds. So it was that, like, I knew that I did everything that I thought was right. So after I knew that, and the last thing to do was, make weight. That's always the final thing to do. Make weight before you compete. And the second that I knew that the weight was made and that was it, everything was just like in the air. And there was my heart wasn't pounding, my mind wasn't thinking about nothing. And it was just like, let's do it. It was
Is it
weird,
literally
dude.
just like I've done all I could in prep? It is what it is now.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like in past preps, right? Like I've in past competitions that I've done, whether it's powerlifting, wrestling, track, cross country, I always felt like I could have done that better, or I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done something. I wish. But this time around, in when I went to Worlds and I did my last workout and I ate my last meal, I truly felt like I did everything that I thought was right in order for me to have the best outcome on the day. And that's why I feel like I felt that sense of calmness and less pressure on myself to just go out there and just lift. Because that was all in that moment. After I made weight, I knew that now it was just time to do what I do best. And it was just lift because I did everything else that I needed to do. And that was all that it was left to do, just lift. So I was just calm, dude. It was so weird. Throughout the entire time, I kept
Yeah.
asking myself, like, this is weird. Because in previous competitions, like I'm like, I couldn't stop moving. I'm always like thinking, and my mind is running up. When I was in back there in between attempts, I was just looking at Coach Arian. He would tell me, hey, you warm up. I'm like, cool, let's do it. And it was just like just autopilot. It was weird, dude. Yeah.
Here's the thing that, because for instance, Duran's 83 Britain had a phenomenal
Uh-huh.
training leading up to this. He did 820 at British Nationals,
Hmm.
which is and Delaney did 835 at Sheffield. However, 815 is what won Worlds. Like
Right.
totals can come up and down depending on, like, Worlds is, it's a different kettle of fish, right? So Duran's for sure was a threat,
Hmm.
obviously. Had a phenomenal training. I saw him in the hotel lobby and hanging out several nights leading up to the World Championship when he's going to perform. And he was confident. He was himself. He was
Hmm.
everything. Competition day rolls around. Sometimes this happens. He was flat. And he made a post about it, talking about, like, I don't know, I wasn't injured. I had a good
Yeah.
training session. Like, I had a good training prep. He's like, these things will happen, and you don't,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
body, because we're walking, we're just chemicals walking around in a blood bag. Like,
Right. Right.
things
Right.
can happen. Look, for sure, willpower, belief, and all that plays a role as well.
Hmm.
But there are things out of your control sometimes, and
Correct.
that's where, like, that's why when you say, like, it's all good, I did everything I could, but it's like, I don't know, you just, sometimes I guess you get a sense, you could feel it in your body if it's like, no, we're
Yeah.
good. But it's
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes you don't know until you're. Sometimes people are like, I think if you ever get rattled like Jurans,
Hmm.
and sometimes you get chin checked in life,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think sometimes you're like, let me find out in the warm up room,
Right.
or let me find out when we get on the platform. I know Taylor said he had on the day he did 838.5, I think they were using like the bar velocity trackers,
Right. Right.
and he wasn't sure. He's been around the block, man, Taylor, obviously. So
Right.
he's won world titles, he's bombed out, he's done it all. And he was in the back room, and he put the velocity tracker on the bar. And while he's working up his final working warm up sets, he looks over his dad. His dad looks, after he checked out the velocity tracker, his dad looks at him, and his dad's like, we good? And this is the day he did 838.5, and Taylor goes, oh, we're good. Because the bar speed was like PR bar speed. He's like, this bar is moving like I don't have weight on my back. And then he knew, he's like, then I knew we're about to rewrite history, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes it's tough, but sometimes you just know. You
Yeah.
know, you're calm, and it's an interesting thing though.
It is. It is. And I think I mean I definitely give a lot of credit to my coach, if not all of it, because he made sure to structure all of my training around the fact that I was lifting on Sunday. And it's all about, of course, as an athlete, looking at the things that work for you. And like we switched my primary squat from Friday to Sunday, knowing that we need to have my primary squat day to be on the competition day so it doesn't feel off. We that last block going into Worlds, we switched a few things around to make sure that we maximize the things that we wanted, and it worked out. I mean, and that's what it is, right? That's why powerlifting is such a unique sport, because we do everything that we do with no guarantee that on the one day that we need our
I know.
bodies to perform at the highest level, we don't know, right? And Jarens is a perfect example of that. In his mind, he did everything that he was supposed to do, and on the day, his body didn't respond or didn't want to give what his mind probably wanted. I'm sure he wanted to give it more than what he did, but his body just didn't want to. And that's just that is the one thing about this sport that is a lot of people that are spectators, they don't understand because we're in the gym for 3 hours a session, all for 9 lifts on one day, and we got to time it all perfectly to, to try to attempt history. And, when we step on the platform, it's a wild concept, dude.
And you only compete like a few times here. You only compete like a few times a year. So
Yeah,
for most people, redemption is months away. It's not like baseball
yeah,
where they have like 182 games. You have a bad
yeah,
game. Oh, well. But on the flip side, too, on top of that, at your level, and there's hundreds of people at the world championship. Even if you're not contending for the world title, it's a big deal to be at worlds, period. I
for
don't care
sure.
where you're at in it. That's very difficult to be like, it's okay. You'll have another competition in 2 months back home. It's like, yeah, okay, well, like, all right, well, with all due respect, but that's a little different. That's going to be a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, yeah,
This is worlds. It's
dude.
I mean, it is there are other factors. So sometimes it affects you, sometimes it doesn't. But
Hmm.
travel is real. And if you're
Yeah,
cutting weight and you're in a plane 30,000 feet in the air, you do retain water differently. It is different.
correct.
And time zone changes and jet lag is real.
Hmm.
And time zone changes can affect sleeping patterns. Like that's
Right.
real. Like this, you can do things to mitigate, but it's not going to be. And then on top of that, IPF judging can you better be ready. You better be
Dude.
ready, Freddie. You were ready. You
Yeah.
were damn ready. You
That's
were
one of the
good.
things I'm very proud of. Going into my last deadlift, I was 24 for 24 white lights. So I'm very, very proud to
Dude,
say that, 'cause, dude.
dude, it looked lovely. Listen, man, you had me. It was as lovely gets. I was like, oh, I love the storyline that we had because
Uh-huh.
you were chasing something. And there was a
Hmm.
meaning though. There's a meaning though. And here it is. And this is what I revealed, and this is what I revealed now. This is what I was telling people afterwards. It yes, if you hit it and you solid, we're talking about Sheffield for anybody listening. He needed 637.5 for
Hmm.
sure. If you hit that and go to Sheffield, obviously amazing for the weight class and to have a 59 kilo representative in the weight class. And we'll see what wild cards happen. It ain't over
Right,
yet,
right.
but
Yep,
we'll
yep.
like, but for sure it would mean a lot. However, the fact that you set a goal,
Hmm.
everyone knew what the goal was, and
Yep,
people started believing, getting excited about it, and tune in to watch. And then while they tune in, whether you hit it or not, you have 3 hours to sell them. This is exciting.
exactly.
Let me sell you.
Exactly.
I got you. I got you
Yep,
here. Now let me sell you. And
yep,
and by my last deadlift, if I get it or not, you're emotionally invested and you're rooting for
yep.
me. And if I get it or not, I'll see you next time because you're going to tune in. You're going to follow. Yes, you will.
Yes. And
We did our. That's my job.
dude, and honestly, when Steve and I met about 1 week out, and we were to go, we were talking about our attempt selection, and based on that very last session that I did, I hit the total in training, but it was throughout the week, right? Of course, and he adjusted my numbers by 2.5 kilos on squat for where we should have been, and blah blah blah, and I knew that assuming I hit third bench and squat, it was going to come down to the last deadlift, and it was going to be a 601 or whatever, it ends up being 605 pounds or whatever. And I was like, to be honest, man, I would have much rather pull 590 for the thing. So I would have needed to hit 225, 145, and then 267 and a half. But when it was all said and done, and he told me what he thought was the better plan, which I 100% agreed with him. There was no better ending to because it came down to the last pull. So somebody that was tuning in hoping for me to hit it, they would have stayed throughout the entire session and watched me attempt everything on the line on the last deadlift, and it would have been 600 pounds. I've never held that in my hands, and it was just like in my head I was like, there's no better ending to the story.
You know what? And I knew when we were doing our podcast, the preview podcast leading into Worlds, I knew you
Uh-huh.
couldn't actually fail. Like you
Yeah,
can not hit it and you still didn't fail. Your real goal in terms of like Sheffield, of course,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
just bringing eyeballs to the
Cor-
59s, making it
Yep.
matter, all of that, you already just by coming on the pod. This is where people get worried about. I don't want to go on a podcast like King List has got some reach, all right, and start saying big goals because what if I don't
Right.
hit it? What if I
Correct.
don't hit it
Correct.
then? What does that make me look like? And what I
Mhm.
say is it doesn't matter. You
Doesn't,
come on the
man.
podcast and get people excited, and then they
Hmm.
rally behind you. Hit or not, they're emotionally invested on you, and let them watch you try. And let
Correct.
them watch you state your goal before you can hit it. Go out there at the world's biggest stage and give it everything you got. And then throw your hands up and be like, it's not a loss. We'll be back. It's just the beginning.
Exactly.
It's chapter. This is chapter one. Don't worry about me. And
Exactly.
people be like, and then by the end of that, they're like, fuck yeah.
Yep.
That was the first book. Now I got to come back for book two, and they're in. But you know how you
Exactly.
don't get that? You know how you don't get that buy-in? Stay quiet. Don't come. Some
Yep.
people don't even want to do the King of this podcast because it's too much pressure before the meet. Or if they come on tight lip with goals, etc., it's like
Hmm.
cool, but people can't buy into that. People won't
Exactly.
buy into that. Stop worrying so much. People won't hold it against you. They're in. They want to believe and they'll be with you. It's tough. I'm glad you did what you did, man.
You know,
And
and that's what it was, and it helped because when I came on, I put it out there. I was like, this is what I want to do. I believe that I can do it. I explained why. I said I just need to add a little bit on squat, not leave kilos on the bar, which on that day I was proud of myself. I didn't leave a kilo on the bar. 222.5 was the perfect call on the day. Bench, I probably could have gotten 145, but the 142.5 was a secure, right? And that was a for sure. And then boom, and then deadlift. And that's what it was, right? I put it out there. I told you how I was gonna do it, and it was all going according to plan. And it came down to just hold holding on to my deadlift. Man, those the day I go 9 for 9 on the day it's truly gonna be the day I accomplish something special. Which I do believe I did something special at Worlds. I did what I did,
for sure.
but I right now I'm on an 8 for 9 streak that I need to break, and the day I go 9 for 9 is gonna be the day that is gonna be like, dang, he really did that.
Someone had pulled up, I think on the recap show, someone Matt Gary was saying, you have the you're the forget your total now at Worlds is like one of the highest we've seen anyways, period. And pretty sure the other totals we've seen at Worlds that are higher is all Fedoshenko. And there is an asterisk beside our boy
Hmm.
Fedoshenko. Let's be
Yep,
honest.
yep,
He popped,
yep,
and he whatever he did his time. I got you. It is what it is. I'm
yep.
not saying you get banned forever, but um, yeah. So it's how first off, how did it feel knowing your wife is there, your son is there? Who else was there? Was it just your wife, your son?
This is my wife and my son. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. How did it feel winning a world title with your wife, your son? Um, I already know, dog, because I seen you when the American anthem was being played and you on the podium, man. It was emotional, man. But
Dude.
how was it in terms of a moment? Was it everything you wanted?
Ah, oh man. Going into it, I was actually, that was one of the thoughts that I had in my head. It's like, man, my wife, my son's gonna be watching me. And it was something that I had in my mind that almost had me scared. Like what if I fail and my son is watching, right?
Mm.
Um, but when I went out there, my wife had texted me when I was warming up. I was like, "Hey, honey, I'm warming up," and then she had texted me and she said, "Hold on, a plane is going right over me. Hold on,
Like going over your head right now.
yeah, plane." Uh, all right, do you still hear it?
No, no, we're good. I can't hear it
Okay,
at
cool.
all, actually.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Oh, I think
Yeah,
it might be the headphones. They have the noise canceling.
that's it.
So she told me, I'm in the front row. We're ready for it. And I was like, all right. So I go out there for my first squat and I see them, and for like a slim second there, like I get emotional, like damn, they're really here. And in that second, I was like, man, I wouldn't have it any other way. Because my son, even though he's about to turn 2, he had a blast over there, but he's about to turn 2, but he's about to witness what I'm trying to attempt. And damn, that felt good, dude, Ryan. That felt because for every single attempt when I came out or when I was leaving, I made sure to look at him and I was like, "Yep, I'm here. I'm
Really? Yeah.
present. And I'm really doing this." And gosh, man, I was so nervous at first, but when it was all said and done and thinking back, I wouldn't have it any other way because he got to watch that, whether he's gonna remember it or not. He got to watch that. My wife got to be present in that moment, and she's been with me my entire powerlifting career and seen where I started. I've told all these things to her. It's like, hey, honey, like that's how this whole thing started. Like like I said on the first episode, it's like, hey, honey, there's this powerlifting thing, and man, I'm looking at these records and or where the totals are at, and honey, I believe that I can do it. I believe that I can compete at this level. And from the first time when I did I think it was 527.5 kilo total at 66, my first meet, to then her being there in Malta in person, watching me win a world title. Ah,
Got to
that
be
was
the
perfect,
craziest
man.
for her.
It
It's
was
gonna be
it
the
was
craziest
amazing.
for her to be like, this is a wild ride.
Yeah.
And the stands were packed, man.
Or the best part is like she'll get recognized as my wife, so people will like talk to her.
That's
And
right.
like to
And
her,
you're
it's like so weird.
that's right. And you're like, and you remember you recognize as my wife now. Is that but
I
but it's
got
gotta
I
be
got I
crazy.
got the ops out there.
That's right. It's gotta be crazy that for her to meet you as like a quote unquote normal guy,
Yeah,
and then to be just on this wild journey with you and be like, hey,
dude.
I'm gonna try this sport out. It seems cool. And then fast forward, you're at the world championships. People in Eurosport are there. They're taking highlights, by the way. The Eurosport highlights are amazing. We don't get to see them because we're not in Europe. All people are from Europe are messaging me saying,
Uh-huh.
so they do like full sessions, full live sessions, a few of them, but the ones they do condensed sessions. Did you see the work that White Lights Media did?
Correct.
Amazing, right?
That's amazing. Yeah.
So essentially, Eurosport did their own renditions of those for like, yes, yeah. So millions of people all
Dang.
over Europe, and they look amazing. And millions of people all over Europe are seeing those. So here's the thing: like those White Lace Media versions, and this is how it's described to me, anyways, from people who are in Europe who are watching it. And if it's anything like the White Lace Media versions, which are amazing, that's exactly how you're going to grow the sport to the public. In like the
Yes.
mass millions in Europe who are going to watch this because they're not going to sit down maybe for 3 hours straight like a live, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
might sit down, watch that half-hour condensed version. And if it's like the White Lights Media version, they'll be like, because our commentary's on it. Like, White
Yeah.
Lights Media took our commentary and just put all killer, no filler,
Yeah.
and did that. That's how they're playing it, dude. Millions of people are watched what you do in our like all over will hear that and
That's
hear me
wild,
saying,
dude.
yeah. And so it's gonna be hype. And then obviously, you got people like White Lights doing it and throwing on YouTube as well. So yeah, man, it's gotta be crazy for like your wife to be it's I can't picture this being with somebody and the other person's like, I'm gonna try this out. And you're like, all right. And then all of a sudden, fast forward a few years and you're like, holy smokes, man, this kind of worked out, huh?
Yeah.
This has been fun. And then
Dude.
obviously, like, yeah, it's got to be the craziest. I have a SPD's video. Let's pull it up. Let's watch it together real quick,
Yeah, let's
and
do
then
it.
I'm
Let's
gonna
do
ask
it.
you a couple questions
Dude,
about
it's
worlds.
one of my
But
favorite.
dude,
I've
I know.
literally watched that video so many times.
Yeah, yeah, they do an amazing job. All right, let's see this thing. Can you see that screen, sir?
Yep, I can see it. I can see it. I can see it.
the grinder, man. Nice. Yeah. I
So
love
I'm telling
that.
that to my wife. Yeah, yeah. I was telling her like I'm coming.
I love this show and shit, man. You throw your hands up. Yeah, you murked that.
Yeah, that move's so clean.
I love. It's yeah, let me turn this off on my head. Yeah, man, it's those moments, and I knew you would do that. I knew when people showed up and tuned in to watch and tuned in, and like when they play this in Europe and the whole nine, they're gonna see you. And remember, I told you let them see you and people be well, if someone of that stature, I like seeing guys like 220 Jack, like John Hack, whatever. It's like, no, let them see you come out there. That makes it special. And you're larger than life. Your personality is, man. You're like
Yeah, yeah.
Prince Nassim. I don't know, this boxing in the 90s, but he was like that. And he'd throw his hands up and be like, afterwards, celebrate like that's right. And it's cool when you point to your wife in the crowd and you're like, we're on.
We're
Yeah,
on.
we're
Yeah.
on. And that third squat was a scrap, son. You
Ah,
you you gotta scrap it out when it's prime time, right?
yes.
When everyone's watching. And afterwards, when you hit your third bench and you stood up and smiled and threw your hands to your sides, and the smile you had on your face was like, my man is in the moment. My man is because the
Yes.
crowd's cheering, and you're like, my man is back. My man knows this is a moment. I'm in a
Hmm.
moment right now. Ain't gonna last forever. This day is my day though.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're gonna soak it up.
Yeah. And
Uh
especially because I knew that like after that deadlift, I mean after that bench, I was like, all right, I was gonna come down to the deadlift. So I was like, yep, this is exactly where I want to be. This is exactly the moment that I want to be in. This is exactly what I pictured. And it is it. Like it's go time. That's how I was so happy in that specific moment because of that, because I knew everything was going according to plan. And now it was time for the fun part. And it was just like time to leave it all on the line.
and you are gonna go to Sheffield. If you don't go yet, then it's just you're not going yet.
Yes.
So for people
100%.
like, but you didn't make it to Sheffield. No, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yet.
It's
Yet.
and
Finish your sentence. Yet.
it's a yet. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not a
yeah. It's
matter
like,
of
no, we're
it's
going.
not a yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be it's a matter of when now. Now that I did that and I experienced what that was like, yeah, it's yet. You are correct, 100% on that.
And when we look at we had the recap show as well, and we were talking about what would really make this pop. Like it was
Hmm.
me, Matt Gary, and Eric Helms, and I'm like, do we need Feddo back, or do we? What are we thinking here for the big showdown? Remember, we were talking about a little bit like, oh, would that be a blockbuster for the 59s? But
Yeah.
afterworlds, Eric Helms had an interesting point. I think he's right. He's like, you know what? After seeing what the 59s did, because you had Ivan
Hmm.
Campano from Spain, who's a junior. He's like four
Right?
years younger, and he went 9 for 9. He went over 600,
Yeah.
and it was a year ago. You just went over
Yeah.
600 the first time. Year
Correct.
later, you're doing what you just did. My man is like a few years younger. Eric had a good point where he's like, I think Feddo, we don't need Feddo now. I think
Yeah.
looking at these young guys that showed up, and we have guys like Ivan. We have like Antoine Garcia from France is still there. Let's pull up. Hold on one
Yeah,
second
go
here.
for it. Yeah, yeah,
I got the results here. Yeah, Ivan, Leon Franklin. So he's getting old in the tooth, but he's just a stitch below 600. It'll be difficult
yeah.
for him to keep adding more weight. But we got fellas Nabi from Great Britain, who we went out for
Hmm.
burgers with afterwards. But we got people like we got young people on the rise. He's like,
Correct.
I think the future health of the division is strong
Correct.
and like you're going to get stronger too, but I think
Hmm.
this all the 59s are going to get stronger, and I think
Yes.
you will have some. Let Ivan's born in 2001, so he's 4 years younger. Let these
Hmm.
guys, let them grow. We'll have some
Hmm.
battles. The battles will
Dude,
come. What do you think?
absolutely.
What's your impression?
I 100% agree, and it's just one of those things that I just feel like, I did what I did at Worlds, and not to say that the future of the class is gonna grow simply because of me, but I did what I did. And then the rest of these guys, they're looking at me because I'm gonna come back next year trying to defend my title. It's like, all right, well, he improved this. I'm sure they're gonna do their homework, right? So he improved this amount in the last year. This is where we expect him to be, so on and so forth. And they're simply gonna tell themselves, if I want to beat Wascar, this is what I gotta be. So they're automatically going to put themselves or their mindset in a level they're not currently yet there. But if their mindset starts up here, all they got to do is just stay on task and keep working. And that's what you're going to do. We're all just going to keep elevating each other. And before we
Mm.
know it, it's going to be that thing where, this year, you know, I did walk away with the win. It was as long as I executed, I knew I was gonna walk away with the win. But that was just because of the work I put in. Next year's it might not be the same thing. So I'm gonna be coming prepared for that. I'm coming prepared to battle Ivan. I'm coming prepared to battle who knows, Fedoshenko. And that's gonna be just one of those things where, yeah, this year was one story, but the coming years that I'm expecting to defend my title, I'm not expecting it to be an easy win, because I do believe that we're all gonna elevate each other, and before you know it, like Matt said, I believe we're all gonna be in the low to mid 600s,
Yeah.
and then before you know it, it's gonna be, how in the 66s to win you need 700, in the 59s you might need 630, 640, 650 to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
This is
that's
this is
and
what
that's what I
happens.
want, dude. That's what I want.
Yeah, yeah, you want battles, for
Yeah.
sure. Like obviously, Sheffield actually helped add layers to your storyline and goals, which is perfect.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, and that was beautiful. So that was good. And then it's still there, but on top of that, now you were going to have someone else to be like I think because it was. Let me pull this up. I don't want to speak out of school here. So your first 600 total was 2022, the end of 2022.
November.
So, November, that's right.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have people like Ivan who did 602.5 be like, okay, so 2022, 22, you did this, 2023, you did that in like less than a year. In less than a
Hmm.
year, you went from 600 to 627.5. Ivan's gonna be like, you give me a year, Playboy.
Hmm.
I'll see you at
Yep.
Worlds. And
Yep.
then you'll be like, good. Well, you need each other. Like
Correct.
you need this. So then it'll be a fight for the title, but also for Sheffield on top of that on the line. And then
Correct.
yeah, let's see what happens, man. If Fedor comes back, great. But I'm glad the 59s did what they did. And to your point, like I know you said, look, it ain't all me that did this, but I guarantee you we've seen what happens. We've seen what happens with certain countries where you have a couple stars emerge and
Hmm.
their shine brings attention to it. So all of a sudden people in that country are like, oh, okay. And then that country starts the wheels start turning and that country starts turning into a powerlifting nation. It'll be the same for weight classes where there'll be individuals floating around this body weight. And they might be like, I mean, you got a few sports, boxing, wrestling, whom this is
Hmm.
going to work out. You got weight classes, but they don't have a lot of other sports where there's weight classes like that. And they're like,
Right. Right.
wait a second, look at this guy. They're going to see you on that platform like you were, being like, pointing down like this is our day. No, they're going to see you
Exactly.
hitting that third bench, throwing your hands up, smiling like, oh no, we know what's coming. Like they're going to see that and they'll be like, damn. They'll
Yeah.
they'll be like, all right, they're gonna see guys like Ivan. And if you guys battle a good battle next year,
Hmm.
they're gonna see this and be like, I gotta get in. I gotta start. I gotta
Exactly.
start now. I gotta start yesterday. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
again, if you make it to Sheffield, you know, hats off, man. That you know how many views
Ah.
that gets. The goal's
Oh
still the
yeah.
same. So
Goal's
you
still the
you
same.
you
Exactly.
goal's still the same, man. So you're representing US, but you're also representing your, the 59s and let's see what happens, man. It can happen. I
Absolutely.
think there's going to be growth. There's going to be exponential growth in the 59s. I'm glad you're
Correct,
here, man.
correct. I am my only thing that I'm crossing my fingers is that I hope these younger individuals like Ivan, though, he is, like you said, 4 years younger. Um, I hope that individuals like him or other people coming up in the sport that are smaller individuals, because whenever I talk to smaller individuals that are in the class, or even in that are even further younger, that are juniors, so they can compete in 53, 52 in USAPL, then they're like, man, but I just want to just keep growing and getting stronger, because it's a tough class to be in, tough
Yeah.
class to be in. So I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing with the simple goal in mind. And the constant battle that I feel like I'm always gonna be fighting is trying to have enough people in the class to make sure that one year we don't have something super exciting for hopefully that next year can continue what we built on this year. But the following year doesn't turn like, oh, all these people outgrew the class, they're going up to 66. So I feel like that's going to be one of those things that possibly can become a battle within itself, is having enough people in the class that we don't start backtracking to where we had two flights this year, crazy in the
It's
59.
beautiful.
Yeah, then backtracking and going back into having one flight or five lifters, so on and so forth. So
Um, First off, that's a really good point. And
yeah,
and I feel you on that. I do the fact that you had two flights of 59s from all over the world. So there's like other 59s from all their different nations. They're the national champions who made it this far. That's
yeah, yeah.
a beautiful sign of growth
Hmm.
in a healthy division. You're right. The thing is, so I think you'll probably have some, but you will have people like, for instance, Penna, he was a 74. He went into 66. He started as a 74. He moved
Right.
into 66. He ain't leaving. And he
Yeah.
gets asked, and he's like, why? I found mine. I found mine.
Hmm.
You might lose a couple here and there. You just
Hmm.
need a couple mainstays who are like 66 is too big. The difference between 15, like 7 kilos is like 7 kilos of that body weight. That's like what, 15, 16 pounds
Yeah.
is a considerable gain. A
Yes.
considerable gain for a lot of individuals on that body in terms of like percentage of body weight. So
Correct.
for a lot of individuals, once you're in your 20s and fairly mature, I
Hmm.
don't know. You could just get lean. Like, look how lean Penn is. Look how lean you are.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see. I think the allure of going up a weight class, it depends on because the 66s are getting crazy competitive too.
Correct.
Um, so when they look at the totals and stuff, it's gonna be the odds. I feel you. I hope we got some good battles to come. I think if the division gets healthy enough, when people leave, new people come. People leave, new people come, and that's all
For
you
sure.
need. For a
For
little
sure.
while there, for a little while, it was just Fedo and everyone else, and it was like nah, it was boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do we got? What are we looking at
Yeah.
here? You know?
Well, maybe I mean I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, but I might turn into that. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing. Fedo also had like no emotion. He was totally
Correct, correct. Yeah.
the stereotypical Eastern European stoic, just going out there like you can't read him for nothing. And he was
No,
like,
yeah, that's
whatever.
true.
Whereas you put on a damn show.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. It is we are two completely different lifters. We perform differently. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Yeah.
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 I mean, and that means a lot too. Like, look at Jesus at Sheffield. He's by himself. And some people
Yeah.
like by himself, what's it gonna look like? You just put on a show, man. You
Hmm.
just you just like and people will be like, will it be a big deal? It'll feel like a big deal if you make it look like it's a big deal. So
Right.
after like you scrap too, you can grind. So after
Yeah.
you grind out a squat, let everybody know. Like look at yes, more coming. Like you let them, you do your thing and let them know, like, and they're like, okay, this is good. But if you do that and just kind of like, thank you, like walk off, you'll need a
That's
battle
like
then.
you
You'll
do
need
the
you'll
bow and
need
then
someone else there. Yeah.
yeah.
You will definitely need someone else there. That's tough. It's a did you were you around to watch Penna's 66 kilo?
Yeah, I was in the back room with Brian. I was actually right when I was
Oh,
in
that's right.
up.
What am I talking about? I seen you. That's right. That's right. That's right. You were that's so cool. You were helping out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it was Natalie
How,
and Brian going in the same session. So yeah, I was back there. I got to see all those guys do their thing, and man, that was a special session, especially because I had my guy Brian and Natalie going in there. And but yeah, I was back there during that moment when Brian was about to pull to attempt to win, and then he missed, and as Panda drops to the ground, I witnessed all that in person. I was like, I mean, you couldn't I mean, I was right there, dude, and I was like, dang. What a moment. What a moment I got to witness in person.
it's
Yeah.
there's duality. So here's what it is. Well,
Right.
first off, yeah, for you to be actually back there, your first worlds, and I remember you had your Team USA jacket on, and were you like helping out in terms of warm-ups and the whole nine and like part of the team like
Correct.
that?
Like I
That's
was
what I
loading
see. Yeah.
plates, yeah, making sure that Brian had water, Natalie had water. Do they need anything? So on and so forth. I just, just making sure that they were good and they can just focus on competing. I was back there helping them out.
And more than that, I'm telling you, when you're in certain situations, when you look around and you're in your nation, doesn't matter whatever nation it is, and you see, so we'll say USA, and you see all these USA jackets around,
Hmm.
you feel better. When you look around, it's like a warm-up room full of killers from
Yeah,
all over
yeah,
the world. And they all want, and Brian was in the killers, man.
yeah,
Penna came on and he said, like, he'll mad dog the shit out of everyone back there.
yeah.
He's like, he's fierce, but this is the way he is. He's like, I'm looking to
Yeah,
make eyes, I'm looking to be whatever. It's just it can be intimidating or whatever. But when you look around your platform, having your people with you matters. And
for
your
sure.
people being like, you good? What do you want? I got you. Blah blah blah.
Yep,
It's a big deal, man. Even if you're like, I mean, he could have got water. Someone could have loaded weights. Nah, but having extra bodies, having someone who just won as
for
well, and
sure.
you're there, and it's like, yeah, we're
Hmm.
Team USA. We win. It feels good, man.
Yeah,
So it is a big deal. It's a bigger deal than you
absolutely.
think. When you're going through some shit and you look to your right and there's one of your boys, it's a bigger deal than you think. Even if you're like, well, we're not in each other's personal lives, you remember though. You
Hmm.
remember who hung around and is like, I'll see this through with you. It
Exactly.
matters, dude.
Yeah.
It
I
matters,
mean,
man.
dude, honestly, when I was back there with Natalie, because the team coaches and then Coach Arian, they're not the ones to be all hyped, right? They're not the ones that are gonna get in Natalie's face and say like, "Come on, let's go to work." But she needed that on the day. Like she was telling Coach Arian, it's like Coach Arian, like I need a little more. And I was like, "Oh, you need some hype?" So I was Natalie's hype man back there. I was back there, dude. I was
You say less.
clapping.
I'll spit a
I was
hot
like, "This is
16.
it." Dude,
She's like, all right, well, maybe not quite.
dude, I was back there, and then I'd look around, and then other teams are looking at me like, "Who's this dude, bro?"
Right. But I mean, you need it. Like when you're hype, like
Yeah, my teammate needed it, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
adrenaline is massive. Adrenaline can do wonders, man.
Yes.
It's why deers jump over 6 foot fences and outrun predator, man. Like
Yep.
adrenaline in your body, it's an amazing thing. Um, and you see when you're back there, you experience the bittersweet on a level that's sports, right? That's all it is. You
Hmm.
experience it at a level at the world championships, like it's hard to describe to other people. So when you saw Brian miss and he's
Hmm.
hurt and he's
Yeah.
so hurt, and his dream was your dream. His
Hmm.
dream was Natalie's dream. And he wanted to be just like you two came in your very first worlds and win. That's what he wanted
Yeah.
his story to be. And he's a good guy, whatever. And you
Hmm.
feel for him. But
Hmm.
on the other hand, you see um Penna and how joyous Team
Right.
France
Right.
was, and they're crying. And he
Yeah. Yeah.
literally falls to the ground because everything he's been through in 2022, everything he's been through in his personal life, his dad who was battling illness, and Penna talked about all that, was in the crowd, and his dad never came to an international competition, came
Right.
to this one. And Penna
Wow.
popped up, ran into the crowd, and started crying with his dad. And it's like sports shows you. It's like a metaphor for life. That's why we love sports.
Hmm.
The bitter and the sweet. The
Yes.
and the same dude, Brian, next year can have his moment, or the next year, like Penna came in fifth
Right.
last Worlds, bombed out at Euros, and is now having that moment. And it was a beautiful moment. Like, I don't know if you've seen the
Dude.
videos Penna put out. You were
Dude,
there
yes.
too, but
I
yeah.
was, bro, when he actually, like, when I remember it very vividly because it was such a moment. And when I was watching the screen, Brian goes to pull, he misses, and the second that the weight hits the ground, he just falls, and I just get chills because you could see it, you could feel it. I mean, I'm looking here because this is exactly how my point of view
Yeah.
was, and it was like you can see it, feel it, like that moment. It was one that I will forever remember because you can just see how much that meant to him. just knowing that he had won, that meant the world to him, and that was just a beautiful moment for him. And I mean, I'm happy for the guy, man.
And
Yeah.
that's it teaches you duality where you can be hurt for Brian but happy for
Hmm.
Penn at the same time. That's
Correct.
actually real life.
Correct.
That's duality that you will feel. And that's another thing that because it takes these emotions and stuffs it into one day.
Hmm.
And it's so intense. And in the same
Yeah.
session, one teammate wins, another teammate, I mean, he didn't lose is the right word. He got a silver medal at the world championships. He just didn't
Right.
hit the
Right.
goal he wanted. But like it's all in the same session. You feel it all in the same session. You're
For
part of it all.
sure,
And then
dude.
earlier you won.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so and at the same time you feel great for Penna, bad for Brian. You feel it's so emotional. That's why those days, dude, last. They can last, man. Those moments, days fall off when you're back at work. It is what
Hmm.
it is, right? Wednesday was Wednesday. Today was literally just another day for me
Another
at the
day.
office.
Yep.
But when we were there at Worlds, you felt moments and emotions, seen moments and emotions, heartbreak, joy that they couldn't describe. You saw a father hold his grown son in his arms crying, and the
Yeah.
father's like what everything he's been through, and he just came and you see someone else's dream literally slip out of their hands and out of their grip,
Yeah.
heartbroken, and you're like, you'll be back, son. don't
Yeah.
don't like you want to console one guy but cheer with the other. And it's weird because it's such a beautiful thing, man. People wonder
Correct.
why I love what I do. And I remember talking to Chance on the podcast, and he's like, I worry you're gonna burn out. And I'm like, don't. I live for this, man. I will
Dude.
show up at those like I could do no. I've done like very little sleep. Show up. I'm
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
once
Man,
the drum
after
starts.
dude, yeah, and then after experiencing that, like like you said, we'll see what happens with wild cards and stuff. But if part of me wants to try to make the trip out there to Sheffield just to witness that in person, because I mean, I wonder. I can only wonder right now what that is like. I don't know if it's bigger, if it's more emotionally. I'm sure it's different being as an athlete and a spectator. But goodness, man, I I I can't wait to be out there. Whether it's this year that I end up making the trip out there, or in the future as a competitor. Can't wait to experience that because Worlds was a trip, but in a good way. Like everything, like you're saying, like the highs, the lows, the tired, then the adrenaline kicks in, and it's like, dude, just it's moments and moments and moments. It's just
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah,
yeah, it's intense, man. And
yeah.
to 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 answer like what you're saying about Sheffield versus Worlds, it's different. Here's what I would say: you would never want to trade um, Sheffield for your world's experience. Winning a world title is something that in when you're 80, if Sheffield's still going on, that'd be amazing. But even no
Right.
matter what, everyone around the world will already know what a world title is. And you
Correct.
talk about, let me tell you about the time I won a world title.
Hmm.
And they're going to see your tattoo.
Yep.
If people don't know, you got it tatted. You got it
Yeah.
tatted, Playboy. And
Yeah.
you might, if you keep
Let's
winning,
see.
I don't know if
For
you
the
get
people that are,
notches.
let's see.
Yeah, let's
For the
see it.
people that are watching, let's see. Ah.
Oh, wait. It's sharp. It's sharp, son.
Yeah.
IPF logo, that's one. So what do you do if you
Yeah.
keep winning? What do you
You know, I don't know. I mean, I didn't think about it like putting like marks on it or anything like that. I just more thought of it like how Olympians they get their Olympia logo
100%?
tatted, all American wrestlers, and like for us right now, I know the World Games got announced and everything like that. But for us, this is our pinnacle of the sport is the IPF World Championship. So and I told myself, it was actually a kind of a thought that I had while I was in Malta. I was looking for a place to exchange money, and a gentleman at a tattoo shop was super nice and exchanged $100 USD to euros. And I was like, man, I want to come back here. I didn't end up going back to him. I wish I would have gotten it in Malta. But I was like, man, how cool would it be to get the logo tattooed? And then I go back to the hotel. I'm thinking about it, and I actually brought it up to Brian. So while I'm warming up, I believe it was. It was while was warming up or while Brian was warming up. I can't remember. But me and him talked about, like, hey man, when we win, let's get the IPF logo tattooed as like our Olympian. And he was down, but he only, was like only if we win. Unfortunately he came short. And then I was successful, so I was like, I gotta get her done now.
I mean, I know a guy who did the same thing, but he's older now, but he had a tattoo, and I think it was every time he won, and he won a few, he if can't remember if he's Canadian, so if you put a maple leaf somewhere and you
Hmm.
just alter it slightly, but
Yeah,
you could start adding things like stars or whatever for every win, something small, or you could start somewhere else on your body,
yeah,
the
yeah.
count, the body count on how many, and just keep adding, right? But it's
Maybe,
that conversation starter.
yeah, yeah. Maybe I'll get like a bullseye or something.
Shoot it. Hey, hey, shooter, shoot,
Shooter,
son.
shooter,
All right,
exactly.
shooter, shoot, son. That's all. That's all it's about. But nah, whatever. It's a conversation starter, is what it is,
Yeah,
right?
for
Is like,
sure,
yeah,
for sure.
I earned that one. Let me tell you, I got a fucking story for you if you like stories. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, talking about the Sheffield, I would say like Worlds is it's got that caveat, man. No, for the rest of your life. Like
Yeah,
Sheffield's amazing, but you would never give up your Worlds win for Sheffield if you had to
correct.
choose between the two. However, as an experience, I don't, you know what? So Sheffield is like, it's just so hard because
Right,
I was
right.
gonna say as an experience, I was saying like Sheffield's like nothing I've ever felt. But on the flip side,
Hmm.
knowing what winning a world title means to people in sports, and then you see Penna, you see
Yeah,
Natalie,
yeah.
you see what happens with like Brian Lee or like people who like pull and miss. You see that like I don't know. Whereas like Sheffield doesn't feel quite like because it's not the world title on the line where you're
Right,
going to be
right,
telling
right.
your kids about it. On the flip side, what Sheffield is like the mega. It's like it's like the Super Bowl where it's like
Right.
it's not a world title,
Hmm.
and the rest of the world might not, it might not be. But everyone knows what the Super Bowl is, but it feels crazy hype to a point that
Correct.
I'll never in my life I've never felt another powerlifting competition like that before and how hype it was. And and I kid you not, like and it's going to be bigger next year. I can't even wrap my head around it. It's so and it's special because it's all like world champions there. So
Yeah.
like the best of the best. So it's like
Ah,
so when you describe it, it won't
uh-huh.
be the same as worlds in terms of representing your nation against all the other nations, like like we just described with Penna. It won't be
Yeah.
that. However, when Penna describes Sheffield, he'll be like, I was in a unique tournament where only the best of the best world champions who also had to hit 95% of the world title went. And like, that's it. And then everyone else will be like, okay, well, you don't got to say much more. That sounds crazy.
Right,
And
right.
it's like, yeah, yeah, it is. It was. It's
And
crazy.
and I get
It's
and I mean too, I mean, just like you said, like in down the road, we don't know what SBD is going to be doing 10, 15 years from now, whether Sheffield's going to continue year over year. But at the end of the day, a world title is a world title. And just like you said, is like I mean, I talked to people because my coworkers when I came back, they like decorated my office and they had a picture of me on the podium or whatever, and I kind of have it to the side now.
that's
And my
amazing.
conversation starters, people have asked me, say, what's that from? And I tell them, say, yeah, 2 weeks ago I won the powerlifting world championships, and their eyes open up, their jaw drops, like, are you serious? And yeah, like everybody recognizes what a world championship is, whether they're in sports or not. They know that in order to achieve that title of a world champion, it's not an easy feat. And that for sure, I know, I definitely understand that that holds more weight. I, that Sheffield, that damn Sheffield, man.
For us in the community, it's
Exactly.
yeah, it's so because because you have to get worlds plus 95% plus. Like
Hmm.
there's so much caveats. We all know how hard it is. Look what you
Correct,
did in the
correct.
59s, and still you needed the last dead to get there. It's like
Yeah.
so uber special.
Hmm.
It's special for us. It's ours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It is our Super Bowl. It's our rock. And the rest of the world might not get it. Don't matter.
Yeah,
Nah,
correct.
you know what I mean? Like it's I don't know. It's also like it's also it's got people from other sports recognizing, because people were talking about it on different
For
podcasts
sure.
and be like, have you heard about this event? And the views are absolutely insane. Who knows,
Yeah.
man? If we're ever going to get pro, here it is. You got Worlds, which is always going to be amazing
Hmm.
because it's the Worlds. And then if you're ever going to have some kind of pro series, real pro, like we're
Hmm.
talking Jesus Oliveros can make your salary in a day. You know what I'm
Correct.
saying? Like in a good
Correct.
day, he's maybe not yours because you're in banking, but like he can make a salary in a day. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? Like, this is a real pro. The SPD is actually turning people pro for really real.
For real.
And
And
that's a
that's
whole
true.
nother deal.
And that's what's so exciting. And I'm so glad I joined the sport when I did, because
Yeah.
I feel like I joined the sport. I joined in 2020, beginning of 21. No, end of 19, beginning of somewhere around that ballpark. And I feel like it was the right time for me, because I was able to get in, um, have the growth that I did. And then now it's like boom, and like whatever, COVID happened, it is what it is. I stayed in the gym, I was able to still work out, so I continue to grow. And then now the sport is where it's at. I was like, man, because I've heard, in Worlds wasn't Raw until 2012, was it?
That's right.
With that. And then there was the social media presence of powerlifting didn't really start growing until X year. So it's like I feel like I joined at like the perfect time, and I'm so excited for where the sport is headed in the next 5, 10 years down the line. Because I mean, you can probably attest to this, but in 2019 compared to today, it's like night and day basically for the sport. So yeah,
Not even close, man. Not
dude.
even close. And yeah, like obviously Eurosport, but they're also talking to other, looking at other avenues for television. I can't say too much, but like there's other stuff that can happen.
Dang.
It's only getting bigger. I mean, this is just like everything. It always gets bigger, right? And
Yeah.
and then World Games, if people don't know, like it's huge, multi-sport, multi-nation. So you take the World Championships, but then picture you're so Corolla Gara was on the podcast. I haven't dropped it yet. I'll drop it. She was at
Hmm.
World Games. It was equipped. Now it's obviously Raw, like you said, as well. It's
Yeah, yeah.
equipped. And she was talking about how, the Olympics have like an Olympic village where all
Right.
the athletes stay just for the athletes. They have an athlete village for in the World Games for all the athletes. So you're there with like all the different sporting athletes, and you have like there's like places you go to eat in the village, and you'll see not just people from other nations like worlds, but
Yeah.
also on top of that other totally different sports. And it's
Dude.
like we're talking, it's gonna be crazy, man. Like you'll bump into like kickboxers or soccer players or whatever, softballs in there, like whatever. Like
Yeah,
all these
yeah.
different sports, like their teams, like teams are in there. And
Yeah. Or I'm sure too you can go and watch other sports throughout your time there.
100 100,
Dude.
man. You take it in. Like just like you stuck around to watch the powerlifting, you'll probably watch the
Hmm.
powerlifting for that too. But you'll also venture off because I remember the Pan Am Games came to Toronto, and this isn't the Olympics, but it's the Pan Am Games still. It's all the
Hmm.
Olympic sports, boxing, whatever the hell, and all different parts of Toronto were housing it. And so you could bounce around in a day and watch all these different sports and like choose whatever sports you want. It's cool, man. It's just a whole, if you're there as an athlete and you have the athlete badge, I don't know what privileges you get, but you're in the athletic village, and I wouldn't be surprised if you could just pop in and watch different sports or whatever, and like the food you get. You want to talk about being able to write a book and talk about this? Delaney
Yeah.
Wallace now. Delaney Wallace, like man, me and Delaney were going off about World Games. He's got goals,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
because he's going to Sheffield. He's like, I need World Games, but Delaney Wallace now, after winning back-to-back world titles, is now doing speaking engagements. And because this was a goal of
Wow.
his, this was a
Yeah.
goal of his, and people will like bring you in, pay you money. Initially, you got to do, just like anything, like a stand-up comedian does open micing, you do for free, show up a business chamber of commerce and be like, because he's like you, he's in the financial industry, so he could talk like that. But people will bring you in for motivational keynote speaking, and you
Hmm.
could apply it to things. But let me tell you my story. And you could say, talk like we talk and bring passion, show clips like we just showed. And because I've done public speaking, keynote speaking as well, like Business Chamber of Commerce, man. And you show clips and you talk and tell your story and whatnot. And like to the point of it's just that's what a world title will bring you, man. Be like,
Yeah.
I got this guy can talk. He's got a great story, very inspirational, very charismatic. Comes in with some videos, some keynotes, and he's got, you tell your story. And you, Delaney. That's why I told Delaney first year before he won his first title. Like, you're just accumulating stories right now, young man.
Yeah.
It's accumulating moments, and it doesn't have to just be you. When you talk and tell your story about when you saw Penna with Joy, Brian heartbroken, you're like, this is when you knew
To
this is
be
the
and
thick
it
of it, right?
and this is I'm honestly super grateful for powerlifting, man, because now as a dad, I get to eventually tell these to my son. And these are things that after high school, and I'm young still, 26, and I really didn't have like when the thought of becoming a dad, and then when I became a dad, I really didn't have, I don't know, things that I could pass on or stories to tell late at night or whatever. Like, genuinely, powerlifting is giving me these moments that down the road, I'm going to be sitting in bed with my son or around the campfire because we love camping. And I'm going to be telling him these stories. He's like, yeah, I watched this in person. Or, hey, I did this. There was once where I was this strong and I had to become this strong to go to this big event. Or I went to the World Games. Like, all of these moments are
Mm.
now being created of the stories that I'm eventually going to pass down to my son. And it's crazy to even think that far ahead because I know that they will come. And I'm very thankful for powerlifting and the opportunity that is given me, because eventually it's going to be my son sitting across from me and I'm going to be telling all these things to him. And it's like, or he'll be on YouTube, him by himself. He'll see that clip from SBD because that's on the internet forever. And one day
Forever.
he might come to me and he's like, "Hey, Dad, look at you. I found you on the internet." I'm gonna be like, "Yep, that's your dad." That's crazy,
Yeah.
man.
It's it. Dog, I got news. This conversation is going to be found by him.
That's
And
yeah,
yeah, he'll be freaking out. You know
yeah,
what if he hears you talking about the future and he's like, holy shit, it's got chills because the future is now and I'm listening to it. And these
yeah,
freaking guys. Um, and your son and his boys are gonna be all over you when they find out, yeah, my
yeah.
dad lifted. Because everyone's gonna end up in the gym at some point. And they're like, your dad
Exactly.
lifted? And they're like, let me show you his gold medals.
Just a little
And
bit. And let me show
yeah,
you.
they'll go upstairs, pull out a box, and you'll be like, oh, come on, fellas, get out of there. And then you're like, look, they don't. They're like, Dad, get your box. No, they don't want to see that. Really? You don't know. You know exactly where I don't even know if I could find that box of medals. Hang on a sec. You know exactly
Dude.
where that box of medals is, though. You're just playing
Exactly.
around. You've been waiting for that. You're like,
Oh
all right,
man,
fellas, come around. Yeah,
dude.
man, it's all accumulating right now. It's true. I know, like, I feel the same way about powerlifting, where I'm like, it changes your life, man. Dude, we didn't even it like we ended up doing the other podcast,
Mhm.
hanging out at Worlds, just like whatever. I never met you and Brian before in real life. And then
Yeah,
afterwards, it's like, want to grab some food, want to hang out,
exactly.
whatever, hop on the podcast afterwards. Talk, we never met.
Yep,
We just
yep.
started meeting and talking now. This is
Yeah.
how it works. Powerlifting brings people into your life too.
Yes,
And that's
absolutely.
a cool
It's
point
so
too, is when you
beautiful.
start meeting people. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, let me go grab my charger real quick because my laptop's on low battery.
No worries.
You
No
might,
worries.
yeah.
Hang on one sec. Let me okay, pull him up again. There it is. There's the son with the gold medal around his neck. Nice. Thank you, sir. I wanted to get that on
Yeah.
recording.
And
This
this
is a
was
good conversation, man. I'm
a
glad,
very,
dude.
very good
I'm
one.
I'm glad I'm glad you came on.
Thank you.
Glad you came back on, and glad we started, like, glad we got to hang out at Worlds.
Yes.
And I'm glad we met, man.
Yes, I
It's been
am
a
very
slice.
appreciative. Yes, yes. And let this be just the beginning. I know
Let it be the
we'll
beginning,
see.
man.
Yes, we'll
I'll
see
be at
each
I'll
other
be at
again.
I'll
Go
be at
ahead.
PA Nats. Will you be at
Yep.
PA Nats? Okay.
Yes, I'll be at PA Nationals more than likely. That's where the plan is at right now.
Mm.
We're kind of off season for the next 6 months or so. Before around November, we're probably gonna hit the ground running and prep for PA Nationals. We're already prepping for a possible Carpino 1, which we already have that number, and it'll be one of those things where we'll execute, do what we need to do on that day, knowing our abilities, and we'll run it back at Worlds, man. We're gonna run it
Run
back.
it back, man. We got unfinished business, kid. We got to, you know what?
Unfinished.
You know what? You didn't get the Sheffield the first year. We're going to do this the gritty Bobby Shez way, Playboy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Heck yeah.
saying? We
Heck
scrap for those. We fight for those moments. That's all right. That's
yeah.
all right. Wasn't
Dude,
supposed to be. Wasn't
let that
supposed
be
to
the
be,
way.
right?
You know, it'll make it that much more enjoyable when it's all said and done.
That's right.
Having to go through
The
the
story's
motions and
the story's better. It's
yes.
better this
Yeah.
way. Good. Better this way. It'll be
Yeah.
a better story.
Absolutely.
Listen, man, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. We're going to talk in DMs. I'm going to see you PA Nas, but we'll talk plenty of times before then. We could do more
Yep.
podcasts in the whole nine anyways. Keep in touch, man. These are good
Will do.
conversations.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you
Thank
came
you.
on and you said your story and opened up and everything. And it's not easy. And I appreciate. And I'm honored that you'll do it on King of the Lifts. And yeah, man, we'll keep in touch and good luck. And I don't doubt you for a minute. We're gonna the second chapter is gonna be a banger.
Hmm.
And then I hope Ivan comes with it, man, and whatever else the 59s.
Absolutely. But
Hopefully they bring it. We have some fireworks.
yes, we will, and we'll be ready. We'll be ready.
All right, my dude. Until next time, everybody listening, six pack Lapadat, six up, and we are out.